destroys. Percocet gets the knock.
Oh, another one.
Quick counter.
The trade. Sam with the drop shot from behind. Unsuccessful on that Jinx. Coming in for the support.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, gamers. Welcome your beautiful faces back to a brand new season. I'm so happy to be here with my boy Imperium once again to kick off Pmco European region. But this time it's not Spring Split, baby. No. It's Full Split 2020. And it's going to be epic. And he's even more epic because you got the Irish epic caster man himself. And his name is Imperium. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Indeed. It is the Full Split. It's a time for these 32 teams to write their history, so to speak, set themselves up for what could possibly be future greatness across the world of PUBG Mobile esports. It's crazy, and I'm super excited.
Super excited. We're going to have like an entire month almost of action coming straight up to be able to crown which is the best team in Europe. Last season, it was UDR Killers that showed up to the party and was able to claim that #1 spot. And now we got another attempt for 2020 to have another European champion going into this region. You know, we've got a lot of teams that have been showing up to the recent scrims of Pro Youth scrims. They've been doing some really good results. A few teams. I think we have like a lot of Romanian peoples in the chat. If you're from Romania, guys, spam hype in the chat. We'd love to know. I think there's like 80% of the chat that's from Romania right now, which, you know, I'm not really surprised, Imperium. But the teams from Romania are really good.
Yeah, a lot of support for Bloodline in the chat. We can see it already. And game hasn't even started. They definitely have the backbone. But, you know, is that going to add pressure to them, right? Is that level of, well, you know, we have to justify that support? And could that affect them in game? I don't think it will, but it's still something to think about, because as we get further through the PMCO, that pressure is going to build up, and every element can be a negative effect on each team gameplay.
Having a big following can also have, like, you know, add a lot of pressure, or it could actually help you and be like one of those forces that pushes you forwards to get some better results. So it depends how you perceive your overall community. But with that said, guys, I'm so happy. I'm sure the Imperium also so happy to have you guys joining us throughout this entire adventure of European PMCO to try and, you know, get the storylines kicking off, because then we're going to have the regional finals. We're going to be having also PMWL for the Full Split. We're going to have the Global Championship that got announced just a few days ago, which is extra hype. And I would love to see some European representation in the Global Championship.
Hell to indeed. But look, you know, I think we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, right? Let's take a look at, you know, and let's talk about what teams that are playing today specifically. We have Groups A and Group B. They're going on to their first 4 games, and it's going to be pretty important that they get off to a right start. Yeah, of course, you can definitely turn it around if you have a bad day, but at the end of the day, you'll want to end the first day of gameplay in a strong position between the top of the standings, maybe in the middle of the pack, and just set yourself up for what could be a really good run in the PMCO.
You've got 6 days for the group stage, and after that, we're going to be getting rid of a few teams very, very quickly. So I'll have to be very careful about that one. So you got Group A, B, C, and D. Group A and B are the 2 groups that will be kicking off today. So I think it's good to take us through all of the big teams we might be expecting a lot from. So Red Reserve, team that got some really big history, right? They started off last season. They got picked up by Red Reserve. And they were, I would say, one of the big surprises going into the spring split of PMCO. And now going into the full split, I want to see, have they improved now? Also, adding an extra IGL that's actually classed. Has that helped them out in competitive environment? Will that be enough to try and get the #1 spot the UDR Killers claimed last season? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think there's an element of, for sure, about that in the way that they can play overall as a team and how much they've improved. One thing that I would fear about Red Reserve is that they tend to be possibly a little bit inconsistent, and that can affect them in a comp. I think it's really important for that to be highlighted, at least initially, before we get into these games.
Especially, like, you know, the science, it really feels good to have some female representation. I remember, like, one time we were casting in Berlin for the prelim finals of PUBG Mobile Spring Split 2019. There was only one girl there. That was for top esports, and it feels really good to have a full girl team. We're going to be changing subject because otherwise we're going to be called simp in the chat, and we don't want that. Now let's go over to another subject, another team that I think deserves a lot of recognition. I think that is also another elephant in the room, so we're going to be talking about it right away, and that is Bloodline. This team from Romania has been just so goddamn good in the scrims recently. I know scrims are completely different from what you might expect coming into PMCO, but if you have some good results in the scrims, you can be like, this team, they got something special, and going into PMCO, that might make the difference.
I think realistically it's about, you know, the way I would look at it is that Bloodline in the scrims, they've shown that ability to be aggressive and calculated, but I think being too aggressive at times has been their worst trait, because they've fallen down early on in games where they probably should have been a little bit more intelligent with. So it's something that I hope they are working out for the PMCO.
Yeah, I think that like they do struggle a little bit in those early game fights. We saw that happen versus UDR Killers, but you know what? Hey, all good for Bloodline. UDR Killers, they're not here, baby. So you know what? Free real estate on Pmco going into those Erangel games. But that's going to be one team that we talked about quite a bit, and we'll be able to have a lot more time to talk about them, because I'm sure they're going to get a few chicken dinners going their way. Another team I would like also to put a little bit of highlight on is going to be the Noisy Boys. A team that, you know, we've known the players for quite some time, Imperium, and they are a team that can get some really good results. And I think that once again, it comes down to consistency. If they can hit those consistent thresholds, I think that the Noisy Boys can be a team that can literally play around that top 3 area, as long as once again they are consistent.
We know what they can do. We've seen them in scrims absolutely pop off. We've seen them get that really nice balance of aggression and consistency, but they've also, I think one thing that they need to kind of improve on is how tight they are as a unit at times, especially when it comes to the early game. I think at times they tend to lose a player on their drop spot, especially in Erangel, because they split drop, and that's something that I'd like to see them work on. Again, it's just evolved throughout the PMCO. You got to be able to adapt in these games. That's something that we've got to think about, is that the way a team plays at the start of the PMCO, in my eyes, should be different compared to the way they play at the end of PMCO. Yeah,
like, you know, being able to split drop like that is fine, as long as you can make use of that split drop. If you split drop for really no reason other than just like looting, and you're not going to make really the most out of that kind of scenario. But with that said, you know, we talked about the teams, we talked about what really is going to happen, we did the introduction. So for now, you guys at home that are maybe new to watching PUBG Mobile Esports, you're like, what the hell is this? What is this Irish and French boy doing on a broadcast? What are they even talking about? Well, I'm going to explain how the rest of this broadcast is going to be going down. So ready, going to go over and check out the point system. If you do take one fancy chicken dinner going your way, if it's Christmas early for you, you're going to get the chicken dinner, and that's going to be 20 points going straight into your pocket. Then 14 points for second position. Third position picks you up 10 points. And then overall, it goes down slowly but surely. In the 11th position and below is going to be only 1 point going your way, which you definitely do not want to score only 1 point in Imperium, because that's not a lot of points.
No, of course not. And in most tournaments, the average points you want to be hitting in these games is going to be between 10 points plus average per game. How you get that is going to be up to you. We've seen some teams get it by securing 5 chicken dinners and then getting bad results. Other games, we've seen some teams getting average chicken dinners and then they're strong on the games that they don't win.
Yeah.
That's always what I would prefer to see. If a team is consistently in the top 5 across 4 games, or 3 out of 4 games are strong, that's going to make it, for me, that's going to make me watch how they play just a little bit closer.
I agree on that one, but also, you know what I agree on, Imperium? I agree on the fact that kills are also very important, because 1 kill equal 1 point, baby. 1 kill, 1 point. If you go aggressive, you're going to be rolling in gold, and the teams that play aggressively are heavily going to be rewarded going into this season.
Yeah, of course. We all know how impactful it is. It's not just from a point of view, even though that's kind of what we're mainly focused on. It's just when you're a little bit more aggressive or controlling, they complement each other. So when you are that more aggressive, where you're able to get a couple of early kills or control that area inside the circle, you're creating that space, you're being more threatening to teams around you. Teams are less likely to want to go against you, and it fits into that mindset. A team that really complements that is the Noisy Boys. If they get on a run from an aggressive standpoint, and if they're able to really gain control, so many teams around them, they'll have to take a fight, but they might not want to. and that again will help steamroll the Noisy Boys if they get on a run.
Yeah, and we saw like so many tournaments, right, where it literally plays down to 1 point, like Gamers Without Borders, 1 point. PMWL, yes. Hey, very close. You know what? A few kills would have made also a really big difference. So at the end of the day, kills are extremely important, and so are positioning points, but do not forget about that 1 point per kill. With that said, I think right now we're slowly going to get closer to the kicking off section of our very first game of the day. It's going to be played on Erangel. We got 3 games after that also coming up. So the schedule for today is going to be Erangel for the first one, followed up with Sanhok, then Miramar, then Erangel once again. We're going to bookend it every single day with some Erangel gameplay because Erangel, as we all know, is the superior map Imperium.
It is, and I am also happy that we will have Sanhok once again for every single game. Every single map is played twice except for Erangel, which is played 6 times, and that's something I want to get into. But I am happy that we're getting Sanhok out of the way early on in today's, as in the game 2, because I think it's the kind of map where we aren't where it's less controlling for these teams. It's a little bit crazier. Anybody can kind of come out on top in Sanhok, so taking that out of the way, it's going to mean we're going to be able to analyze things in the other maps a little bit better in my eyes.
Going over back to our camera overlay to see our cutie faces right there. Guys, if you want to sim for us, we're going to be opening donations very soon. But no, with that said, you know, we're going to slowly get our way into this first game. I know you guys might be like, wow, these guys are talking a lot, but it's fine because trying to introduce you guys and all to all the newbies really that are joining, you know, PUBG Mobile Esports, trying to introduce this tournament as well as we possibly can. But Imperium, we talked a little bit before this broadcast, right, about what teams we might be expecting taking this entire tournament, this entire, you know, PMCO event. And I want you to maybe just put into words real quick once again, what was the team that you mentioned at, and maybe the reason why, as we have just a few more minutes to burn. Oh, come on.
Nope.
Not going to?
No.
Fair enough.
I was the same during the PMWL. I do not have a favor. I do not have a choice. Every single one of these 32 teams are in a chance of winning. Take the spring split as an example. UDR Killers, group stage, they struggle to qualify into the semis. Semi-finals, they struggled to qualify into the finals. Finals came along, they absolutely popped off. They got first. You take Cream Esports in the spring split, dominated group stage, dominated semi-finals. Finals, they choked. Nothing against them personally, but that's the way it went down. Any one of these 32 teams have a running. You just got to take it game by game, day by day, stage by stage.
Oh, fair enough. You know, I respect that completely. We did talk a little bit beforehand. I got a few teams I think have a big chance of doing some really good results. Got Bloodline, you got Godsend, you got the Noisy Boys. Those are like 3 teams I think a lot of people are talking about going into this event. So you definitely want to keep your eyes out for them because they could be coming in clutch and taking the few chicken dinners. But as you mentioned, really good point, right? Last season, UDR Killers, the dark horse of the entirety of the PMCO split, right? And completely unexpected to take it. And what I think a lot of people would maybe criticize in this team, but after they went over to PMWL West and they took 7th position, Imperium, like that is still a really big achievement on the global international stage. So still, you know, any team, even if you think they're struggling a little bit, they might just snatch that chicken dinner and that top 1 position away at the last minute. So you know what? That's the cool thing about casting these Battle Royale games is like, literally, you never know what's going to happen. The unexpected is just so consistently around the corner. Expect the unexpected.
Exactly. And even when you take other regions within the European spectrum in play, right? We have PMCO Turkey going on, the PMCO CS as well at the same time, and even PMCO Germany. All of those teams performed really exceptionally well with Footballers and Kunina Power in 1st and 3rd respectively in the PMWL. That's only going to breed competition in the European region because we do see a lot of community tournaments and community scrims where those teams are facing against each other. So it's so valuable that you support the teams as well and that you support the stream because we want to see it grow. We want to see the region become better and better. And I think that's something that we also noticed relatively early in doing scrims preparing for the full split PMCO is that the standard of EU gameplay has improved.
Oh, heavily. Like, especially those European grenades, though. Like, you see how, like, they are thick with double C. Not CK, double C. Those grenades are looking really good, especially the Bloodline grenades. Yeah.
Capital C.
Capital C's. You know what? Everything minuscule, unless it's the double C's, then you put it full caps. So that's fine. But anyways, I'm putting once again the group up in case you guys did join the stream a little bit late. What the hell were you doing? You better be nice and comfy because you're not moving for the next 3 hours, guys. You're not moving. You're not going anywhere. But right now, we're going to have Group A going versus Group B. Group C versus Group D will be happening tomorrow. That's going to be unfolding very quickly. And we're going to have literally every single team fight up against each other for the next 6 days. And after that, 8 teams will be directly... They just go home, even though they're already playing from home because it's an online tournament. But you're going even more in home. You're going in your room. You're going in your room. That's how far back you're going.
Jesus, that's a bit harsh, man. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about a few of these teams in Group A and Group B, and I know that at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the teams to let their gameplay do the talking, and we will be highlighting that. We don't have too much to go on because we haven't seen any PMCO action. We've done the scrims, we've had that level of preparation, but we always know that scrims is the area where they're going to be trying new things. They might not be taking it as seriously. The mindset is always going to be different in scrims compared to competitive play. However, a couple of teams that really haven't shown up too much in scrims from our point of view is V4 and V4 and Yakuza PX. They're both playing today, so I think they're a little bit more known to us than the other teams.
Even a team like Be My Loot, you know, they did show up sometimes, but not really on a consistent basis. So we got still a few teams that are like, you know, got a quick big question mark on their head, and it might be also a strat, even though I think that training is also really good. But teams just don't know where the hell they're going to drop. How do they play? Are they aggressive, passive? Do they drop on the island, on the spawn island of Erangel? We just don't know. Anyways, that's something to keep in mind. But with that said, we got the game slowly coming up. We got about 100 seconds before game 1 of full split European PMCO kicks up. I'm extremely hyped, and I can see it on Imperium's face that he's extremely hyped also. And baby, but before we do dive into the action, I want to do a quick also little shout out to an organization that's been helping a lot of the European scene grow. We talked about it, that the European standard of gameplay has heavily improved throughout the past few months. So big shout out to the Pro EU Scrim event and also staff. You got yourself Aura, you got AJ, you got Veggie, you got Go. You got so many people that have been joining. Muriel also. I forget a few names there. My apologies. I'm trying my best. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for making all these streams possible, able to help all these teams improve their gameplay, get better and better every single day, and also allow us to pick up a few little followers along the way. But basically, thank you so much. It's been a lot of help, and these teams are just so good, especially because of the scrims.
And here's the thing, it's not much, but even kind of and I can say that like the kind of support and viewership on the scrims have been surprisingly good, and I think it's where the region as a whole is just kind of realizing, hey, look, we do have the strength, we have the ability, we have the teams, we just got to get behind them, and we got to show the support, whether it's scrims, whether it's tournaments. So get out there, tune into the stream, tell your mother, tell your father, tell your granny, tell your dog,
barking the dog
to the PMCO full split. Tell the frog outside, if you see a frog, say, hey, ribbit frog, tune into the PMCO EU, because it's going to be action packed.
Yeah, I'm sure. I like, we just like literally, it feels like a zoo right now. I mean, you got us two on camera, so maybe it feels a little bit more like a zoo, but that's fine. With that said, Imperium, we're sort of going to be going into our very first game. Ladies and gentlemen, the time we've been waiting for the past few months is finally here, and that's going to be game number 1 of European full split PMCO 2020. The plane is in the air. Where are we going, baby? Where are we going?
Love is in the air as well. Actually, no, not quite, but
I mean, we're both on stream, Imperium. You know what? Who knows what happens after the stream ends? Who knows?
I ship you. So plane power going from the west to the east, a little bit more north. So it's going to be pretty easy for the likes of Red Reserve. Going to be able to go to North George.
Yeah.
All good in the hood. Omega Dragon is going to be shifting down west along with the Noisy Boys as well. So that split drop, how is it going to handle for the Noisy Boys? Other than that, I think it's going to be standard stuff as well for teams heading towards Yasnaya and with Time to Shine going down south. Yeah,
but Atlantis Cycle, maybe not the most happy with this kind of playing path because they like to play towards military base quite a bit, so it's going to be a little bit far for them. But you know what? We talked about it. The strength of a lot of these teams is to have a secondary drop location. Teams like the Inside Games, for example, have been starting to do that now, dropping in Yasnaya Polyana and also Mill to Power altogether. So definitely a secondary drop, if you use it properly, can give you a really big point of advantage. But Imperium, Once again, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, on all social medias. If you're watching on Twitch, Facebook, I don't know if we're live on Facebook. I think we're live on Facebook, and also YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us today. And with that said, let's kick off the hostilities with game number 1 on good old fancy Erangel.
And you touch upon Atlanta Cycle. They have chosen to drop a little bit close towards the George Paul area. The phase 1 circle has complemented the playing path to a heavy extent. It's kind of what I was talking about with the side of the Noisy Boys, right? Having that split drop. However, they are a little bit closer together, which means they're going to be able to handle likes of V4 who are close by.
Yeah, they're going to have Elusive moving out. Elusive, a player that we haven't really seen, too much play with the Noisy Boys, so a really nice late addition. He's going to be the dark horse of this team as player 99. Unfortunately, a little bit caught out in the open for V4. Savage slowly coming around with mask off. Also, an off angle from the rest of his team would be really of great help if they could join up the party right now. He's going to be taking a fight 1v2, but unfortunately, he's very shortly lived. Savage X with the M16 puts an end to his life, and that's the very first kill of Pmco. Full split going over to the Noisy Boys.
Ooh, V4 again. One of the teams that we haven't really seen too much in scrims. They are a team that are mainly French, but they have a couple of players who are from Turkey. Player 99 who did go down is one of those French players. So we'll have to see if they have the, the je ne sais quoi to carry on as a three-man team like that.
I don't know why, like, je ne sais quoi is like something that people know from French. Is like so specific as a sentence. I don't know why.
It's just like,
it's like deja vu. It's like so specific. I'm like, why?
It's,
The croissant, I get it. You know what? I get it for the memes, for the giggles. I understand it. But Atlantic Cycle, you know what? This time around, they went for the area of crates in George Pole. The teams that are really in lobby A and B this time around, there's not too many teams like to drop in southern George Pole. So that's going to be free real estate for Atlantic Cycle, which I think that, like, it's a pretty good makeup drop location if you don't get your main one that is military based under control. This one has also a really significant amount of loot.
It does. When you are talking about not so much loot, but areas to control in phase 1, you're going to be looking at Everest as a really core area to at least get that early information on where other teams are. Of course, we all know holding on to Everest Max is quite difficult because it's spread out so teams can breach you from either side. But at least before you rotate on the phase 2 shift, getting a little bit of information is going to be very valuable.
Over on the eastern coastline, you got a little bit of scouting from GSG Europe and Team Dope. We talked about it, right? GSG Europe, a team that we haven't seen whatsoever going into the Pro E scrim. So this is definitely a dark horse going into this one. We do not have too much information. At least I would say no information except for their name that has Europe in it. So it does mean they are a European team. But they're just going to be, split dropping a little bit on the eastern edge, getting that loot up, getting back into the car rotation. And this is how you want to do it most of the time, right? In Imperium, if you want to split drop, that's fine. As long as you're able to regroup back together really quickly. In the early stage, is fine.
And you're dead right. However, what is underrated a little bit is when you do rotate away as a group, you got to make in separate vehicles. You got to make sure you're close together. If you're not close together on your rotation, it's going to be a lot easier for teams to pick you off. So we do see teams that are starting to rotate up, Red Reserve, getting that Everest area a little bit under control to get that sideline. I would definitely recommend stay there for about 30 seconds, then move down to one of those compounds south of Everest. It's going to be a lot more valuable. But the teams coming in from the east, like Yakuza, Inside Games, Time to Shine, it is right now pretty free for them to move in. But of course, they are coming in from the outside circle, which means they are going to have a limited amount of information.
I did talk with Klaus of Red Reserve a few days ago, and he did really talk about how much they put a big focus on Plato's high ground position. So that's what they're going to be going for once again. But as you said, right, I think it's good for them to just scout, get the information, go down, maybe even keep one scout on Everest itself, and then move the entire team down below, because you never know, the circle could be going towards Everest. It's something that could happen down the line.
You could even do the other way around. Keep 3 in Everest and send 1 down a little bit.
Some kind of split.
Exactly. There's a few options in play, and I do like the rotation from Sirens. If you remember in scrims, right, coming down from Severny, they would tend to go a little bit too deep towards a compound by the river and possibly get caught out, whereas they're choosing to go in through the east side of Ruins, which is overall a lot safer and is going to give them a better time frame, especially because Lack and Oster, who like to land in Roshawk, are not playing in today's game, so they know the area is quite free for them to move into the circle with.
Time to shine, getting pretty close to Pachinki and Headshot Valley, as Blank and John like to call it. We got a bunch of other names, but we're going to stick with Headshot Valley because I think it's a pretty good name for this area, because you do get Headshot in this area quite a bit. As Time to Shine, they scouted the area on the west of Headshot Valley. It's free real estate. They're going to take control of that position. It's pretty good seeing how the circle did go over to the western side, and all the teams that did drop on the east, they're going to have to go for that rotation. But because the playing path was actually very focused up north, it's not going to hurt too many teams in this lobby.
Red Reserve doing what I suggested.
They send the entire team,
A
yeah.
bit of scouting on Everest, then sending the whole team down. It's so valuable because not only are you preparing a bit better for phase 2, you're securing that key compound. You are protecting yourself by 4 walls of the building. And that's the kind of small compound that has 3 or 4 buildings where you're able to spread yourselves out. Should you get somewhat engaged upon via grenades, you're able to dodge them somewhat.
Yeah, I'm talking about grenades like these European grenades. We talked about it in the intro, right? Like, European grenades have heavily improved as time goes by. So really happy to see these European teams putting that focus now on utility. I think in Spring Split, that's maybe something that was lacking quite a bit. These teams playing that utility, playing around smokes, flashbangs, maybe all that much. But like, we've seen so many molly plays in the scrims, right? Molotov plays left, right, and center. And the Molotovs, if you use it so well, it's such a good tool to deny pushes if you use it properly, of course.
It's underrated a little bit, but it requires a bit more precision. So you have to think about it a bit more. And then, but when you're in the heat of the moment, you're not really thinking so much. So therefore, there's a, you can't really use the time, so you're better off just chucking an actual grenade. We see, Max, the Noisy Boys in V4 clashing up once again on these similar rotations.
Yeah, but V4, they lost a player earlier to the Noisy Boys. The Noisy Boys, they're in hunt mode. They're just chasing down their prey. They got a little wind of they smell the blood. They're like, this is a team we killed the player earlier. We're going to try and finish them. But you know what? They're like, okay, we're going to play the passive approach. Noisy Boys, they're just going to have a pretty good compound under control up north of the plateau area. As V4, now they got to aim for another area. Where might they go?
But here's the thing, they are heading across the south coastal line, so they might stop around Ferry Pier area. But here's the thing, rotating so late into the blue zone closing in phase 1 is just as risky as being in the same compound as another team, because you don't really know, and other teams could be rotating close by. It can nearly always be the case of the devil you know rather than the devil you don't know in the world of PUBG Mobile, because timing of rotations is always going to be so much more valuable.
In the circle coming out on phase 2 did go down south. You know what? At least the river is not going to come into play, so the hard rotations up north should not be unfolding this time around. An Atlantis cycle, pretty decent position up north of Gatka. But really, I love where the Noisy Boys are set up right now. It's a really nice spot to play with. There's a little bit of high ground position under play also. Siren's also got a decent spot, but I'm surprised that no one yet has gone for Pachinki Hill. You got so much visibility in the center of the circle itself. I think that Inside Games or GSG Europe could aim for that location.
And I was thinking for Omega Dragons to shift a bit more to the east, which kind of what they're doing, but Red Reserve have reacted a bit quicker. We could see a bit of an early fight between those two teams. Team Dope, who did stop by the compound by the river on the north, took their time. They're now coming in via runes, which I think is pretty good, but they are getting close to Bloodline. There is still that little bit of space on that hill to the north of V4, which could be held onto by either Inside Games or GSG Europe as well, Max. So there's still quite a few areas in play, even though teams are quite heavily inside the circle.
Yakuza PX slowly going to be coming on by. They had a bit of information on Time to Shine, for example. Sirens are going to be holding on to that location down below. But Time to Shine, they're on the move once more, trying to aim for a better compound to hold on to. And things are going to be nice and dandy. But right now, this is still the early stage, right? You're not expecting too much to happen. So far, only 1 kill happened in this game going over to the Noisy Boys. But Atlantis cycle, they found a pretty decent position as Time to Shine might try and contest it. They got high ground position on the plateau. They can take a few shots down below. But really, it shouldn't result in a big breach happening very soon.
It's funny because, when you talk about the one player going down, it's actually in the compound that Atlantis cycle have rotated to. So it's just kind of ironic and coincidental as it happens. Time to Shine being on top of the hill, it's a great area, but because it's out in the open, if the circle obviously closes in around them, they could be under a lot of pressure by teams moving in closer on that 360-degree angle. And, you talked about the early game being quite passive. I'm expecting that from pretty much the whole of day one, or at least until the last game of the day. teams are going to be feeling themselves out in this competitive setting, even though they might have played against each other quite heavily in scrims.
Team Dope on the move. Slowball is going to be leading the pack of Team Dope, going towards potentially Bloodline. They got an initial knockdown down. I believe that was Kapahala and the kill feed earlier. Allen going to go for the res up. That'll be happening very quickly. The Team Dope, they're going for a very aggressive breach that I don't think was really initially needed all that heavily. You know what? Seem like they are thirsty for kills. Grenade going to be coming on by. Very close to Slowballs, but luckily enough for him, that one will bounce right off that little cliffside.
They got a knock onto a member of Bloodline, but the revive has been executed. They both have little peaks that they can move and shoot from. That's pretty good. But what I really like from Team Dope is that they have that 2-2 split. So you have the off angle from Tudor and Harb, which is going to be able to provide that level of back support.
The early shots coming on through seem like Team Dope might not be fully ready to commit to this one. They know the Bloodline are going to be defending this one really well. I like the fact that they kept Slowballs very close to the compound to make sure they can then send the entire team away. And I say that's Team Dope out for... Oh, Slowballs jumping onto a rock right there very early on. They seem like they want to play towards the Everest area, which I think is very intriguing in this situation. I think that's a location where you're allowing yourself to take heavy damage from Bloodline.
But here's the thing. I think that was a little bit of a bait. Because we saw the members of Team Dope shooting up towards Bloodline, not necessarily wanting to get a knock, but either way trying to create that space. But talking about space, phase 3, the space has shrunk. It's gone down south. Quarry's in play, but Quarry's always a very tricky area to hold on to. There's really limited strong areas where you can rotate to, and I'm talking about the north and the south side. Don't really want to be on the east or the west.
It's like a Miramar La Bandita, but with no compounds in between. That's how it is. You can compare it to. So basically, you just can't go down below. If you do, you're going to be dead meat. But definitely would be interesting to see if we might just get ourselves a quarry finish for the very first game of the day. As X Team, also a team that's been coming around quite a bit, getting some pretty consistent results going into the European scrims overall. And coming into this tournament, I think they might be the favorite of a few viewers at home. So definitely do support them in the chat if you are a fan of X Team, because they're a team that they know how to hurt other squads around them. But the Noisy Boys and Red Reserve, they're going to be having a very early clash. There's nice mini 14 shots from Beg for Mercy. Shall connect towards Everest.
Nice mini 14 shots, quick to the point, and nearly took down a member of TSC. It's risky being on Everest, but at least are getting information, and it has paid off. A zombie is going to get knocked to the ground, but the thing is, because TSC are so far away, are they really going to be able to react to this?
I don't think so. I think that right now also someone got knocked down, but X Team were easily able to pull off the res. It's phase 3. Now it's starting to be the time where maybe you don't want to overstep your welcome too long out of the circle, so that's fine. TSC going to be on Everest himself. Really good for scouting early on right now, but I think they might be just cruising a little bit too quickly from that location. Use it for like even just 10 seconds. Look where teams are, then go downhill, but seem like they're going to go downhill without too much information going their way. Well, I'm happy to see. I just realized that we got Antho for TSC here. Ooh, he's a player that you want to keep an eye out for.
No, I think TSC played it really well. But yeah, they might have hung around Everest for a little bit too long, but getting that knockdown on the zombie, it wasn't the fact that they wanted to react for it, but it created a space where it pushed X Team back, so it meant it was going to be easier and freer for them to rotate towards the circle. It's still not going to be easy because they don't really have that much information.
Information for Be My Loot has been taken, though. Taking a little bit of an open fight in the plateau area versus V4. V4 and Fushi, they lost another player earlier with this Piranha. So Piranha, player 99, both taken down of the equation. Marshall and Cruel are going to be there remaining. But Be My Loot got a pretty decent position, but now they're a little bit more on the edge of the circle down south. Means that they're going to have to go through a plateau area, through a road, through a forest, also just very flat. Their rotation, they need to try and gather information to make that rotation just a little bit smoother for themselves.
But I think they are. The only thing is that there is a team in front of them. So I think if they get a knockdown, they will want to really react on that before the next phase pops up. And talking about the next phase 4 are going to be on our screens in a matter of seconds. Where is it going to go? I think it's shifted over to the northeast with Time to Shine. Dead center. But there's that beautiful, huge compound area that is to the west side of the circle, and even a nice compound to the south of Time to Shine, which is valuable.
Oh, TSC getting destroyed, engaged by Team Dope. They're just surrounding them so damn well. Team Dope pick up the kills, and that's going to be 3 extra points going their way. Team Dope eliminating the first squad of European PMCO for this full split. Well executed, really good synergy, but in a risky spot, so you want to move away from here as soon as you possibly can.
It was that blanket. We didn't see a lot of how that engage happened, but I think it was off the back of TSC having limited information. but was really nicely reacted by the side of Team Dope. However, onto this compound, Bloodline are under pressure as the Atlantis Cycle are going to be wanting to protect their compound. It's inside the circle on the north. There are quite a good few teams around them. They could get third party by Time to Shine.
Yeah, that could be something coming into play if they want to just go downhill. That'll be good. But Time to Shine really got a more central position. So I think that here you can take some shots from a distance, but fully breaching it, I think might be a little bit too much and overwhelming. But you got to say, Atlantis Cycle been holding on to this area for so long. That means that Bloodline were able to get close through a field area with a full team. That is something that's already recommendable on its own. But Bloodline, a big blanket of smokes, grenades will still be chucked on over. That looks like a really good grenade coming over from their side. Unfortunately, not making it over to the shack of Burian. And now slowly kind of coming on through. But X-Team and Be My Loot slowly going to be popping up into the kill feed. It seems like Be My Loot already struggling in that engagement.
He had a couple of players knocked down. No squad eliminated, other than, of course, what we saw in TSC. Yakuza onto Mega Dragons as well. But in amongst the smokes, Nurofen is waiting out behind the wall, waiting to gather as much information as possible. With 3 teams, like I said, this core compound on the west side has 3 teams in it. So nice triple fight going on, Max. Who is going to come out on top?
First third-man party of Pmco Europe? Question mark? Thinking emoji? Maybe happening right now. Romanian squad, 2-2 split, unfortunately really struggling. Rambo left behind. Nate's chucked on over from Killer. Really trying to get control of this area because this is a really good compound to hold on to. Whoever wins this is going to be in a pretty good spot to take this first chicken dinner.
And Max, there's even a 4-man party because you have Red Reserve on that hill to the west of that compound. So it's really going to be interesting. But Rambo has been dropped by a grenade, followed by Burian. So we talk about the EU grenade power. It's definitely working out.
European nades are good. Do not quite that, because if someone fails it, I'll feel really bad. But oh my god, you know what? I do not take that one back. Elusive taking a grenade onto Frost of Red Reserve, and that's going to be Red Reserve, I believe, out of the lobby because of that elusive grenade. Great stuff from them. See you later, Red Reserve, into game number 2. But now Romanian squad, they're the team in the big point of pressure, and back over, we've got picture-in-picture coming on through. Still the fight happening, and no one is quite ready to engage it so far because they're waiting to see where the circle just might go. Oh, Buren, so many grenade knocks happening right now. What's damn, we said it before. I mean, we called it. European grenades are good now, but Tudor is going to be slowly pushing over towards Romanian squad. They want to get a little bit more control on this western compound. They're pushing down very slowly. Here it is, the breach happening down south. That's going to be Bloodline trying to take the offensive fight. They pick up a few frags along the way, and Bloodline shall secure this northern compound. They win the fight. They pick up all the kills. Great stuff indeed for them.
Man, this is really starting to get good. It's starting to get spicy as the next phase goes back up north. And this is what I talked about with Time to Shine, right? They are out in the open on top of the hill. They have the high ground. They've been gathering a lot of information, but I feel like they might want to get into a bit of a slightly safer position as a full squad to prepare for any potential onslaught coming through. The only thing they have in their favor is that there's a lot of teams outside the circle, to the west notably, that are fighting against each other, so they might be able to clean things up, Max.
Lobos, Maskov with the DP28 coming into play. I mean, this is like a DP28 meta right now. If you have that one in hand, it's deadly if you use it properly, of course. Slobos knocked down, going to get slowly healed up. They did lose, unfortunately, Harb a few minutes earlier, so very unfortunate for them, making it a little bit harder to hold on to this position, even though I'm pretty sure they won't. They want to move away because the circle and more over to the center northern side. That's going to be potentially also forcing Noisy Boys into the open, loving arms of Team Dope. But Romanian squad, they might be preying on the third party happening right here.
Team Dope with 4 kills so far off the back of a squad, right? But you've got Romanian squad just outside. Of course, these are 2 Romanian teams.
And
they're
V4
used to battling up against each other. Then you have V4 joining in on the fun as the Noisy Boys still up as a full squad. So I talk about if the Noisy Boys can stay together as a full squad in the early parts, coming into the late game, they can really get the damage done.
Romanian squad, they want to leave, which I think is definitely the smarter approach. They did leave one player behind just to make sure, so you know what, that's completely A-okay, maybe as to serve as some kind of insurance, and they're going to aim for the more northern edge as Marshall. He lost Crawl earlier for V4, and now he's going to try and hold on to the field area, but so many teams have an angle on him. I think that's going to be the end of V4 right now. I don't know if we're going to see him into the kill feed. Wait, does he make it out alive? No way. Oh, Jesus Christ. So many teams are shooting at him. Or maybe I talked too soon. You know what? He's down to about 1 or 2 bullet shots, and that's game over. He loses a wheel right next to Bloodline, able to get thrown in time. But you got to explode that car yourself. Kapahala's going to have the perfect angle, and Bloodline claiming lives already up to 7 kills on phase 5. Jesus Christ. Stop this team.
Yeah, they've been really popping off against Be My Loot as well along the way. And I want to see, and I want to point out that on the feed, we've really seen Time to Shine make their position pay off. They've been able to take down a couple of members of Omega Dragons, a couple of members of GSG, and that's what I want to see from them, right? You got to create that space. It's a huge element coming into phase 6, 7, of course, phase 8, as the game will close out. 9 teams left, 31 players max. No team is inside the center of the circle. They're all along the edge.
Yeah, on the edge, because right now it's a high ground position in the center, and not really a good high ground kind of position. It's a plateau, making it, even if you're on the tippity top of the mountain, all the other teams down below should be able to find a few nice, easy angle shots on you. And you don't want, like, all the teams remaining in the lobby just shooting at you from down below. That's really risky. Pretty hard shift compared to where the teams are pretty good for inside games. They should be able to take control really quickly, but also same for Time to Shine and Bloodline. I'm intrigued to see which will be the first team to try and strike and take that position first.
I think Bloodline will have a great position if they go cross the road really quickly and actually engage upon inside games. You want to take them out because they're going to have a core position on the north side of this circle.
Boise boys, they got a little bit of room around them. You know what? Easy to pull off the res onto Whiskey. That should be fine for them. But Yakuza, PX, unfortunately, down below, they might be the team in a very threatened position. Now Time to Shine, they got Swave behind them, trying to hold on to the angles. They're going to have to force their way through. But Bloodline, I talked about it, a team that could potentially take control first. They send a scout forward. Bloodline really looking dominant and controlling this game, which is the Bloodline I love to see.
Inside games, engaging upon Sirens, which kind of makes sense because Sirens are outside the circle. A couple of knockdowns has initially come through, and Sans is going to be sensational with that grenade onto Aaron.
Haha, very funny, Imperium. Very funny indeed.
Get out of the way.
We had to do it eventually, guys. We did it on day one like that. You won't hear about it anymore. Or will you? Question mark? Thinking emoji? We'll have to see.
Okay,
the X team.
No, you've done that twice.
I've done that twice, but I'm going to do it again, Imperium. I don't care. I find it funny. But yeah, Yakuza, Luco, and Yuzi coming on down. Yuzi, my favorite player because he's called Yuzi after my favorite weapon. Yuzi Red Dot is the best weapon in the game. Changed my mind. Luco coming around right next. The X team as they keep a good old foothold on that high ground position. Sorry, the Noisy Boys. I mean, as they're trying to hold on down, the car explodes, putting some heavy damage down onto Luco. Usually holding onto the backside, but now the circle is moving against them. The Blue Zone's going to be upon their position very soon. The time is now ticking for Yakuza as Yuzi gets taken down first, and Luco should be the next one to follow suit. He's going to run away. Going to make it inside the building. He doesn't get shot at. Really surprising. He makes it over to the building, but now Ryan into the Blue Zone. Sprayed down by Whiskey. That's going to be a double knock happening for the Noisy Boys.
Great response from the Noisy Boys. I thought they were maybe being a little bit too passive, but after getting that revive onto Maskoff, Whiskey popped up, created that mixer, got that double knockdown. Time to Shine, throwing a grenade towards Yakuza. Will that be a Kobe? It is.
Yeah.
It is indeed. And Uzi goes down, leaving Luco left standing.
They know that was a knock and then into a flush. They must know that one player of Yakuza PX must still be remaining behind, so they've got to keep their eyes pried open just to make sure they don't get preyed upon and snaked upon by Luco. But as I say, that's getting very close. And Time to Shine are pretty close to each other. One grenade could easily get a double knockdown if he makes really good use of that utility. Still got 7 teams still in play. X team inside games got that position, but the northern side held by Bloodline. Not too many teams around them. Bloodline might be the one taking his very first chicken dinner, but here it is. Luco waking up from his deep slumber, but it's going to be very shortly lived. Good night, sweet prince. That's the end for this team out in 7th position. But now Time to Shine, changing their focus over to the Noisy Boys. Taking 1, taking 2. Great spray coming out from Daddy. Savage X trying his best to hold on to that position. I think he just got spotted right there, and I think the Noisy Boys might just get eliminated right now as he's under pressure, and that is indeed the case. The Noisy Boys out in 6th position.
Oh, Daddy. Oh, Time to Shine. 11 kills so far, hitting double digits. Of course, they lost Naya. Will's getting knocked down, but there is still Swave and Daddy left standing. One member of X team moving on up. You do have this side of Bloodline are firmly inside the circle on the north side, waiting for the rest of the teams to get closer.
Seem like the kills are very top heavy, you know, compared to Time to Shine and also Bloodline. They're doing really good, but Nightmare trying to get the nades down will be a casualty. Daddy trying to go for the res, but Swave, you got to be careful. He's got a little sneaky off angle behind that little dip down below. Nightmare is an easy pickup as a nade comes on through from Swave. I mentioned it. He's going to be the big threat to that position. X team are out in 5th, and now 4 teams are still remaining. Gonna have Time to Shine inside games. Still gonna have also in Bloodline up in the northern edge. As Swave tries to go for the random smoke sprays onto Dell and backfire. Unfortunately, those are really hard to connect on. Those cars are really good protection over for them. And now really, this circle has been taken over pretty well by one team specifically over to the western edge. But the spray still coming on through. Dale going to be doing some work with backfire onto Will. Daddy and Sway still remaining for Time to Shine. He's trying to hide into that angle behind the smoke, trying to buy as much time as possible. But this is going to be a really hard position for Time to Shine to work with.
You don't use vehicles at this late stage of the game, Will, unless you are absolutely certain that you are safe. We see both teams are spraying the shots left, right, and center, trying to create that space, but backfiring. Dale doing a great job suppressing with Sayo on the back line by the side of that crate. Yet to confirm, they have indeed confirmed that kill onto Will, leaving Swave and Daddy left standing.
I mean, look at Bloodline just popping into the kill feed versus Team Dope. Team Dope, they're more playing down the southwestern edge, but Bloodline, they're just on their own up north. No one is denying that position compared to all the teams fighting each other. Literally, Bloodline are just preying on these kills and stealing the action for themselves. Bloodline got to praise what they are doing. Sans finds a nice juicy headshot to Nurofen of Bloodline, so you know what? They're still putting her out, but Dale at the smokes are slowly wearing off Imperium. Inside games, they're feeling the damage, they're feeling the hurt. Time to shine, they're shining through on this first game of the day. Backfire peeks up, trying to get that damage on through.
Sway, push it. Sway, push it. Take advantage. Try and gain control. Go for a risk. Could come out with a reward. Yeah, of course, the revive is coming through. Gotta say, credit to Time to Shine. They're hovering across the edge of this circle so valiantly. There is still one member left of Team Dope. That's Bazzy up. Out of sight, out of mind for now.
I haven't seen Bloodline use too many smokes, maybe because it was off camera, but I don't think they have. So you know what? If they still got a lot of smokes, that could allow them to hold on so damn long to the northern edge of the circle. Inside games now seem like they're going to be snaking their way towards Time to Shine. Time to Shine down to only one player. Daddy's going to be confirmed out of the lobby. Bazzy is going to be sought after by Kapahala. The spray comes on through. Kai is fuming. Can he make it explode? We'll have to see. But Swave sprayed down by the Uzi of Dale. That's going to be fourth position for Time to Shine. Still got to be having to say Imperium that they got a really good first game for PMCO European split.
Yeah, definitely a good way to kick off their journey in this PMCO full split. But three teams left standing. Inside games, Bloodline and Team Dope. Bazzy just waiting out. We saw Inside games have one player left in these scrims and get a fantastic chicken dinner. Could Team Dope pull off the same with Bazzy behind this burnt out boogie?
No, what Bazzy can do, he can clutch it, no problem, as long as you just don't put your focus onto him. But Inside games pushing a little bit deep. It will be turning into a pretty nice even fight, but Bloodline having 2-3 members now knocked away. Bloodline losing Allen at the last second. Dell doing the work for Inside games. Bloodline will be taking third position, but now it's a 1v1 Imperium. It's Dell versus Bazzy. Will Team Dope be able to steal this very first chicken dinner away? Will a Snake be the first win of the day? He's got to confirm all the kills, 7 kills so far. For Team Dope, so he's looking strong, looking for the angle. He finds Sands, kill confirmed, up to 8 so far. They're looking for double digits. As Dale gets up, he had the information, goes for the spray with the iron sight on the M4, and that's going to be Inside games picking up the very first chicken dinner of the full split.
Nicely done by Inside games. 10 kills, first place, 30 points in total. And then you have Team Dope coming in second, surviving until the end, getting 8 kills. That is a pretty good start indeed. And then Bloodline controlling, getting 10 kills as well. Man, you pointed out, top heavy, good stuff.
Very, very top heavy right there. 9 kills for Inside, 10 kills for Inside games. 9, wait, no, actually, I can't count Imperium. I'm having really a lot of trouble over here. 8 kills going over to Team Dope. Bloodline picking up also 10 kills going their way. Yeah, top heavy. That is the perfect definition of this game. But I got to say, this circle was not really fun to play with, and it did end up being a very good, snake smoke base finish. But a lot of teams, I got to say, time those engages pretty well, especially Bazzy from Team Dope.
I think what really was different about this kind of circle is that we don't normally see it in this area. So I don't really think it was that bad of a circle to deal with. There was compounds up until like phase 5, phase 6, right?
Yeah.
So there really was, a few areas to play around. There was a great mix of high ground and low ground, even though it was generally out in the open. And I think most teams dealt with it very valiantly.
I think that definitely we had a really good response for this first game. It shows that, and for the entirety of this month for PMCO Europe, like EU, the action is going to be intense for sure. I think really what did cause the demise though of Bloodline, they would chill on the northern edge, right, for so damn long because they were behind the slope and all the teams are just having so many angles on each other, down south, on the east, on the west, in the center also. And they were just chilling. But once their position was out of the circle and they had to push over the ledge, the remaining players and teams were going to have the easiest time of their lives to just pick the heads one by one. That's what happened. They got pushed by the blue zone, and that's why Bloodline did go down. But with that said, back over to our cutie faces right here. As Imperium, that's our first game. First chicken dinner picked up, and really good stuff coming up from Inside games.
Man, I just love it. We've kicked things off, and I think it complements the fact that we saw a relatively passive early game. We saw teams rotating overall quite intelligently towards the center part of these circles, and even as the circles moved out, we got the phase 2, phase 3. Most teams really reacted to it not too crazily, nothing too harsh. The team that probably reacted kind of the harshest would have been TSC, I feel, on phase 3. I didn't see exactly how they rotated towards Team Dope, but I felt maybe it could have been a little bit safer from them because they knew they really had a limited amount of information. Of course, they end up paying the price of going down as the first team.
They're playing very heavily on the edge, and at some time, just Team Dope, they just went around that position, just completely suffocated them on the edge, and they just couldn't really play too much around that. But there you have it. That's our first game in the books, and it feels good to get that done. I think a lot of these teams also maybe just, feeling the room a little bit, trying to see what's the temperature like, what's the overall atmosphere. And I think that this atmosphere is very focused on utility, a lot more than Spring Split. We mentioned it in the intro of the broadcast, and we saw it right there. It was happening. So many nade frags and knocks happening into the kill feed. And it feels good because we are in a meta that's heavily focused around those nades, around those smokes.
Yeah, of course, I even said it, and I've said it numerous times, that I do believe that grenades are a little bit too powerful, and I think they need to be somewhat nerfed. However, it doesn't take away from that. At the moment, they are very powerful. They do a great job of not only pushing a team back, but getting a knock, securing a kill, giving you a certain level of confidence as well, right? When you hit a nice grenade, right, and you see that knockout coming through, it really does feel good. There's a certain, damn, that feels good about it. And I think that will help these teams really kind of, lean into that strategy. And of course, more grenades will pop out as you get through these games.
They just want to set a precedent up for themselves, right? They want to be like, you know what, this is the kind of level that we want to play out on a consistent basis, which I think is really fun to see. But we got our overall standings, even though it's just the first game. I think we can just go through it very, very quickly for all you guys at home. Checking out the top of the board. So you're going to have then 30 points going over to Inside Games. They're leading so far with Team Dope in second with 22. 20 points going over to Time to Shine. And once again, like as you said, very top heavy, like from first position over to fourth position, 20 points minimum. That's very nice to see.
12 kills for Time to Shine, though. I just want to, I don't think we've really given that enough of a praise, because I talked about them when they had that center position that was relatively high ground out in the open. I said what they need to do is they need to get those kills and you need to push those teams back. Yes, they were a little bit benefited from the fact that teams outside those circles were taking each other out, but there was always going to be teams surviving and looking to get in on the edge, and Time to Shine really made it count. Like 12 kills. I'm sorry, just that, like, that, it's so good to see, because in scrims, Time to Shine have looked a bit disconnected on engagements. They've looked a little bit, will they be able to pull it out of the bag in Pmco? And I think they've at least proven me wrong in a certain way.
I mean, right there, they were in the hot seat for sure. There were just so many teams denying that position away from them, trying to deny visibility and then trying to push themselves in a decent spot in the circle. I think they did do a really good job from that kind of spot. They were going to go down eventually because it's just such a huge task to deal with and fathom with that you could imagine in the future they would go down. But you know what? Before going down, they picked up, as you said, 12 kills. That's really impressive to kick it off after knowing that they were a little bit weaker going into the scrims. But I'm really impressed, that you have to say, for this first game of the day by Time to Shine.
Yeah, it's like as they went down, they took a hell of a lot of people with them. Also, the Noisy Boys getting 6 kills with 6 placement points. It's a kind of thing of, the top 5 teams, or top 6 teams, should I say, hitting the minimum average of 10, 11 points per game is really good. And it's also nice to see that in that first game, we did see 6 teams getting double digits, whereas it being very top heavy of 2 or 3 teams only getting double digits. So I do want to see more of that in these games. I don't know if we'll see it in game 2, which we'll talk about as we get into it, but yeah, definitely after game 1, I'm just happy, man, and I'm really impressed.
I'm really happy indeed. I mean, what a good first game to kick it off with. Really, really happy with a lot of these teams coming into it. A few teams maybe not starting with the best of performances. You got some teams that win, some teams that lose. From time to time, you've got to have some teams that do take the L. Like me and Imperium, when we play our games, we always take the L, but we're not going to talk about that on broadcast because we're going to be humiliated. But yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, it's only game 1, so it would be really silly of me to, let's say, highlight or try to break down the poor performances of the likes of GSG, TSE, Atlantis, and Red Reserve, who all had only 1-point games. It's just a kind of thing of like, look, you had a bad game one, dust it off, get ready for game two, and refresh yourself. That would be the one thing I would say to every single team that had a bad result in this game one.
I mean, we literally, like, we casted PMWL East just a few weeks ago now, and even teams like Bigatron, the world champions, that now also won PMWL East, like, literally it happens to them to die in 16th position. So really, the thing is, you can afford sometimes to lose and die in 16th position, as long as your morale doesn't tank it for you. You should be okay. Just keep positive mentality. If you can do so, you'll be okay. As we always say, 50% skill, 50% mentality. That is what makes a really good professional player in any esports, really, but even more in PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, and also then within that team, you've got to have that balance between communication, synergy. You have to have that balance of support person, that fragging, that kind of runner and gunner, so to speak. And I think we're going to see that shine the more we get into these days, the more we get into these games. And even though we will see an evolution, that evolution will lean more towards the teams that really show up on top.
Exactly. But with that said, once again, congratulations going over to Inside Games securing their very first chicken dinner of the day. We're going to go for a very short break. As always, we've still got 3 more games coming your way for the first day of PMCO full split European region. Going to have Sandhawk action coming up in just a few short minutes, followed up with Miramar, then Erangel to close up day 1. So myself and Imperium will see you back in just a few short minutes. Don't move, because we'll know if you do. You don't want to do that, because we'll get angry, and you don't want to see us angry because we're scary, even though when we're not. No, it's fine. We're going to continue. With that said, guys, we'll see you in just a few minutes for game number 2 on Sandhawk.
Royce Percocet gets the knock.
Oh, another one.
Quick counter.
The trade. Sam with the drop shot from behind. Unsuccessful on that J7. Coming in for the support.
And we are back for our second game. It's going to be, of course, on Sandhawk. Thanks so much for waiting. We had a little bit of a longer break than usual, but that's okay. We'll go faster and faster as time goes by. My name is still Maxman. His name is still Imperium. And we're still back at it again for game number 2.
Yeah, I think part of it was down to cough. Some people not downloading maps. Cough. But you know who you are. You know who you are. But game 1, fantastic game. Won, of course, by Inside Games. But game 2... this is a different beast, right? We talk about Sandhawk, it's unpredictable, third-party central. Those circles can really hamper the team's drop spots and their rotations. Of course, it never fails to deliver on entertainment.
Sandhawk is always the area where the unexpected... we talked about it, right? You got to expect the unexpected. Well, the unexpected is even more unexpected every new objective right there, but like, even Sandhawk is basically a really weird place to be. So a lot of action is going to be ensuing. Third party galore, snake galore, everything you don't like in PUBG Mobile will be here, but everything you do like also, which is ongoing consistent action, is also going to be around the corner. As I say that, it's going to be Sandhawk time, baby. The plane is high in the sky. Where we going? Where we dropping, boys?
And that isn't to say there isn't a way to play Sandhawk. 110%. You can for sure control that map if you want to. It can take a bit longer to learn because of the unpredictability, but it's a smaller map. We see that phase going from north to south, pretty split in the middle. It's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy for teams to get to where they want to. Yeah,
the Noisy Boys, Paradise is all we have not seen at all during the Pro U scrims. They're going to be right over here going for the Tatmok northern side area. Well, Cal really going to be under control for them. Might have a little bit of a split, so they're going to go for the very high northern edge. Red Reserve, they like to play in Sammy down south. That's going to be very easy for them to take control of. And with this kind of lobby, they should not get contested in that location.
Oh, baby. And then phase 1 circle popping up straight away. Pretty standard stuff on the west. It is occupying all 3 areas of Sandhawk, the mainland, Northwest Island, Southwest Island. I would say it's kind of favoring the Northwest Island simply because there's a bit more of that water and play on the northwest side, but anything can happen on these circle shifts. Getting not necessarily an early rotation because there's that unpredictability, but getting that early position that you can push teams around you back and of course be protected by any potential third parties is going to be important.
Yeah, there was one team that I want to talk about real quick is Amiga Dragons. Like, they got the trifecta compound under control. So for you guys who maybe didn't really follow too much PMWL East, what is the trifecta area is where the rivers collide between all of the different islands in a more like northern west side, next to the center mainly, but of the Sandhawk Island. So that's an area where it's really contested, and the reason why is because it allows you to rotate to every single island in the game. And because this phase 1 circle is over to the west, that position could have a really big influence on allowing you to rotate really safely.
X team straight away perching themselves up on the high mountainside overlooking the trifecta compounds, which is just as valuable because you get information from the boot camp area and you get information from the trifecta even around the Painan area. So that's going to be really important on X team dealing with any potential teams coming in around them. Of course, they don't get that much information from the east. So the likes of Sirens who do land outside the quarry can definitely get a surprise attack onto them.
Like, normally, the location where X Team are, normally Scrim Farm is the team that plays around that location, but I think that here's just X Team being very thoughtful. They saw, okay, then Lobby C, they're not playing today. We can take that position because Scrim Farm are a team that they make really good use of those high ground positions, and I think X Team are trying to learn from that a little bit, take that position, and have, once again, that information going their way.
And what I also find great is that Inside Games have adapted. Normally, Inside Games will drop in Painan, but because they know, and this is where they've also done research, because they know bootcamp is free, they've dropped in bootcamp. Of course, that's gonna help Atlantis cycle because they're in Painan on their own, but it's just that adaptability is so important on these kind of games, and especially a map like Sanhok.
Yeah, I mean, boot camp, great position, very central, very also close to the trifecta area, so it could make rotations pretty good for you if you do have a lucky bunch of rotations on the circle. And you know what? Imagine the legacy that they would be setting up for themselves. Yeah. They can do a back-to-back chicken dinner on 2 different maps on the 2 first games of this full split for PMCO Europe. That'll be very intriguing. But what is also intriguing is Red Reserve pushing up away from Summit in the pretty early stages, trying to go a little bit more central on this first circle. And they're looking for V4, having a few potential angles going their way.
I don't think they'll know V4 there exactly, other than if they see their moving bodies and they're popping heads across. I think that's where player 99 might be under a little bit of pressure from Kayla. Spray coming through onto Cruel. Nothing really too heavy for now. Grenade being cooked up by player 99 Max. But I like this early rotation by Red Reserve. Move out of Samni, get information. You're going to be better prepared for the next couple of phases.
Yeah, Class under fire. Novaz also taking a few shots in his global vicinity, and that's going to be Frost actually able to clap back in the face of Merchel. And you know what? I'm really unhappy on how V4 are playing this one because they are so split from each other, making it even harder for you to pull off a res. So lucky enough, they got one that's not too far from another player, but I'm really skeptical on how V4 are currently playing this fight. And Red Reserve, they got the high ground. They got full control on this fight.
And they need to take advantage of that control. They need to be a bit more aggressive, I feel. Frost has been able to confirm that kill. Push in, Red Reserve.
Pushed it, yeah.
Don't push in on the vehicle, but push in. Take advantage of your position. You know that there's far less likely going to be a team coming in behind you because it's so early on phase 1. So you have that information where you can push forward and take control of that Southwest Island. Eliminate your French counterparts of V4.
I just came to mind actually. You know, French teams they're clashing on early. That's making me sad. I want to see them go on 4 because I'm a French boy myself. But Frost, he's pushing very aggressively on the compound where Piranha is. I would say a little bit too overzealous for him.
Really want to say who's going to wave the white flag first, but
you know, I'm immune now. I casted with you too many times. I'm immune to French jokes. Doesn't do anything to me anymore. My heart is now just a hard, cold piece of stone.
Side to a French joke. And but talking a little bit seriously, you're dead right. It was a nice observation by you on Frost's position. But I'm going to compliment it as well, because if they do the right job of being in that strong position where they're able to provide that support to Frost, that off angle, that flank can make a huge difference in this fight. But what I feel is that Red Reserve aren't really being aggressive enough. So as you get in of the blue zone closing in phase 1, more teams are going to come in around them, behind them, possibly. And they could get third party.
Yeah. Also, like, if they want to push on V4, literally what they got to do is go down the hill, over a road, and they got a compound down below. So really, Red Reserve, if they want to push this, it's going to be an instrumental effort they're going to have to put on forward to take this fight. So I would say, is it worth it? I wouldn't say it's a really easy fight. You might want to try and get Frost to join back, but Sirens and X-Team can actually try and take a few easy trades around the mountaintop. X-Team were holding on to really well, so it seemed like they were not controlling it too well, as Sirens were just easily able to make their way up to that location.
I did say about Sirens coming in from the back line because you don't get that much information on the east. Backfire with the third party, was able to knock down a member of Sirens, and then all the while Luna turned around and clapped Beg for mercy in the face to knock him to his knees. And that's something that Sirens have to be aware of. Max, they don't normally rotate in this area. They normally go a little bit south to Painan. So this is a new kind of rotation for them. I like it, but you've always got to be prepared, and I don't think they knew a team was going to land in boot camp.
Yeah, like Inside Games taking those shots from down below. Yatem in quite a lot of stress. Luna going to go for the heal up on herself, so she'll be able to normally assist Yatem in that very sad position. And talking about Yatem, it's actually her birthday today in Imperium. She's 20 today, so there you go. Quick happy birthday to you, and best of luck going into PMCO for this full split. Hopefully, it'll be some good results.
Isn't it bon anniversaire? Isn't that happy birthday?
Yeah, damn, hey, big claps. There you go. Very good clap. Joyeux anniversaire. You say bon anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire. Both are completely okay. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm actually quite proud of myself.
There you go. You're French now, Imperium. As long as you can say happy birthday in French, you're French. There you go. I'm going to get your passport soon, man. You'll get your French passport soon.
That's what I like to hear. Atlantis Cycle looking in the direction of Be My Loot. Andy on that off angle, he's in a precarious position, but the fact that he's inside that building, he's still going to be able to use that third person perspective, prone down or not, to get a bit of information onto Atlantis Cycle. Let's see if they can take advantage of it.
Or Luna was sprayed from down below, but I believe Nightmare is actually the one from its team stealing that one away from inside games, and now Luna goes, whoa, what the hell? Sirens take the L early on? That is a very unfortunate run of events right there. Seemed like the birthday wishes didn't work out.
Feels bad, man. Like, I think they should have disengaged away when they got put under pressure early on by inside games. But the phase 2 has shifted up north. Once again, it's favoring that northwest island, but there's still quite a bit of that mainland in play. And this is where the Noisy Boys, they should use this experience and shift up north and come in via the northwest, that northern bridge. They might come under a bit of fire from TSE, but I feel like if they go in with confidence, they won't have to worry about it and they can take them out.
I talked about Amiga Dragons, right, holding to the trifecta compound. They actually left it to go up north of Rins on a more western bridge. I don't know what to think of that too much. There is GSG Europe above them, and I think if they did have that information, it might be like, we want to take a more passive approach. We're going to go for the other bridge. I don't know what to think of that. What's your thoughts?
I think it's good overall proactive play at the end of the day, and it's going to give them a little bit more freedom to prepare more for this next circle.
Seem like we have a little potentially issue with the clean feed. I don't know if it's also for you, Imperium.
It is, and I thought it was just me.
It seemed like it's the both of us. You know what that means? We're going back to FaceTime time as we try and get things fixed on the edge. Hopefully that'll be okay. We'll just try and refresh and get things sorted out. Technical issues, we're live. It happens from time to time.
I'm letting production know that the
stream is down. No.
So I do apologize. We'll get back.
It's fine. But let's keep on talking about Amiga Dragons then, like moving away from that location. So what would be your overall thoughts on that one?
Are we just going to talk about Amiga Dragons until the game comes back?
Exactly, yes. We're going to go Amiga Dragons, Beta Dragons, Alpha Dragons, all the dragons. All of them.
All the dragons. We're talking about all the dragons.
Yeah. Blue Eyes, White Dragons also. We're going to go over Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to do everything.
What's your favorite dragon?
Blue Eyes, White Dragon.
I don't know that dragon.
It's from Yu-Gi-Oh! Bro,
I don't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! I watch.
Hey guys, Pokemon. I'm gonna eliminate his face cam. Dude, your face cam is gone. There you go. But nah, it's okay. But hopefully we'll get everything sorted out pretty damn soon. As once again, we are live. Technical issues happen from time to time. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's one of the risks of having a remote production kind of thing. Hell, it can happen on an absolutely live production, so it is what it is. We got to deal with what we can. Of course, the game is still going on, so I'm also curious to see what's going to happen when we come back. Right? It's like it's kind of like when you turn your head for 1 second if you're looking after a kid, and they're fine. You turn your head for 1 second, you come back, and they've created a load of mess. I want to see is that what we're gonna. Is that what's going to happen when we come back from the feed?
You might have a few also happy surprises for a few people in chat that might support a few of the teams in game. Like, they might be just popping off with like 20 kills at the very end. It's like finding, like able to find like after a few days in your pocket, like a 20-pound bill. And just like, oh, I didn't know that was there. That's cool. Same kind of effect right there. So we're going to try and make our way back into this Sandhawk game. But Sandhawk goes very quick. So, as you said, like anything could happen in literally like a minute, and you can lose like half of your teams and just get Thanos. You'd be like, what just happened? I don't know.
Funny, I was going to say that we could come back and there's going to be a load of teams just Thanos snapped into the air. Just the dust particles of their bodies, flowing through the air of Sandhawk.
Don't feel good, Mr. Spark.
Within takes it out. They try and get all poetic while we're trying to get this sorted for you guys. And apologies, but nothing we can do. But looking into the early parts of the game, one team that had a really strong position initially was Romanian squad. They landed on the west side, so they're going to be able to take control of that mountain area. We didn't get too much of a perspective on the overall map position, but having a look early on, it's clear that they were trying to set themselves up for a really strong late game.
I think they've been doing pretty good so far in that game. And one team I'm also really happy with was actually Yakuza PX, as they did go for the boat rotation away from Kao in a more northern edge. It was very early on phase 1. I think they could have waited a little bit more just to have more information on where the play zone shall be shifting onto. They did go for that early rotation. They held onto the western coastline away from Camp Alpha, if I'm not completely mistaken. I think a little bit further down south of Camp Alpha. And there's literally, like, It's very rare that teams play around there, especially with the teams in lobby of Group A and Group B. No one in that lobby currently plays around Camp Alpha, so it's very surprising, except for Karabakh horses from time to time. But overall, I think they got a really good entry point. After seeing where the circle is going to shift, it could be a little bit troublesome for them. If they can just pull off good rotations, I think that they could have a really good performance going into this.
Yeah, exactly. And another team that was setting themselves up, because I talked about them when we saw it in the map feed, was the Noisy Boys. They had started making their way towards that bridge on the north, so they were looking to put themselves in a valuable position, especially because a lot of the teams are always like to land and rotate on that south side of the Sandhawk map, move in via the southwest island, the trifecta area, depending on how the circle shifts. So if it continues going up in the northern area, I can see the Noisy Boys getting a very strong result, Max.
I think that that's also something that I would have liked coming on through from Amiga Dragons if they held onto the trifecta instead of like making the rotation a lot slower, a lot more passive on the western edge. I think they could have got there a little bit earlier, maybe on phase 2, and get a really good position under control. But I think it's intriguing because especially if the circle keeps on shifting up north, playing on the slope of that mountain up northwest is really tricky. You got teams up above you, especially at Team Dope that had so much control. They had like split north, west, east, and south.
Yeah.
The control getting their way was huge, and if they can make use of that information and that high ground position, they could be also a really big contender for this second chicken dinner.
They will have to do what Time to Shine did in the first game, right, Max?
Yeah.
They will have to push teams back, get the kills, eliminate their opponents so they can create their space to rotate down the hill in some way, shape, or form. And when you're talking about the circles, even on the Northwest Island in general, it's very difficult to play around because there's a lot less compounds or little kind of huts, shacks, sniper towers on that Northwest Island as there is on the mainland or the Southwest Island. So there really is a limited, it really does limit how these teams can position themselves up coming into late game if we still have a lot of teams left. Because like I said, you know, when we come back from stream, we won't really know how many teams are left in the lobby.
Wait a second. Just checking out a little bit what's happening on our end. So yeah, the clean feed is still not up, unfortunately. I'm just trying to check and refresh every few seconds. But it seems like we're a little bit out of luck on that one. That's fine. Just putting the groups back on our board. But yeah, very unfortunate run of events. We might miss actually the entire game. Hopefully that will not be the case at the end, but it could be something happening. But we'll try our best to keep you guys updated on what's happening throughout this game, because we got a lot of nice rotation coming up on these teams, and I think it will be good. Oh wait, is it back? Oh my god, it's back. Wait a second, boys. We got the clean feed up. Oh my god. Let me
now.
Ooh. We're back. Wait, let me just put it in. We're getting back in game, boys. We're getting back in game. It's time to go for Sandhawk for the second time. Are you back in Imperium?
I'm waiting for it to refresh on my side.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you guys through the plate. So actually, Yakuza PX, I talked about their boat rotation, could be paying off. And you know what? They're dead center in the circle. Team Dope still holding on to the tippity top of the mountain. So their control is going to be huge. Going into this one, we've got 13 teams still remaining in this lobby. Not too sure which ones got eliminated. We lost Sirens earlier. That's what we know as a fact. But now the spray coming out from Elusive of the Noisy Boys. The Noisy Boys looking also pretty grand. They got a really good compound under control. As I check Imperium, are you in with us?
So
Still waiting. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go over to Nightmare. Ooh. Nightmare surrounded by Inside Games players. Inside Games pick up the kill onto X Team's player in Nightmare. And that's going to be X Team actually eliminated in 13th position. 12 teams now still in play. Damn, we didn't get 2 Thanos snapped Imperium. We still got a lot of teams in the lobby. So I'm happy we didn't miss too much, except for maybe a few nice rotations from a few squads.
It's also a shame for X Team, considering they had a good start, getting 11 points in game 1 going down.
Yeah.
So early in game 2 kind of takes that effect away, and hopefully they'll be able to come back in game 3.
Yeah, Inside Games holding to a little bit tricky position, but you know what? Hopefully for them, no one is going to be coming from the riverside on their position. And if that's not the case, I think Inside Games could also have a second strong performance. Let's see how they can hold on to that spot. Now the Noisy Boys, once again, their compound, they pulled off the res. That's completely A-okay. They lost Mask off very early on, very unfortunately for them. But we can see the map top right of our screen. It seems like Amiga Dragons, they want to contest. They want to take the tippity top of the mountain away from Team Dope as they struggle. But especially down south, Romanian squad struggling heavily as they get eliminated out of the lobby. Atlantis Cycle also struggling quite a bit as they lose 2 of their players. The third shall follow suit, down to only 1 in the blue zone, and the blue zone is ticking pretty damn hard. Edig is already on the other side of the river, but unfortunately stranded away from the rest of his team, and GSG Europe, they are relentless on this push. They're holding the angle so damn well down south, and they don't want any teams to make it through the riverside. As Camara, he's slowly pushing out. Where's his teammate? The blue zone's going to pop up for phase 5. Where might it go? I'll have to see. Actually, Gusian is still alive for another cycle. Seemed like he was able to barely res up against the blue zone. Really impressed for him. But GSG under fire once more. 2 players knocked down. Amiga Dragons and Team Dope. That fight shall be happening on the mountaintop. And I'm going action as I check again. Once again, Imperium, are you in with us? Or still not?
No.
Still not? Okay, just tell me when you're back in. That's fine. I'll take the viewers through the action. That's okay. But yeah, the rivers, I think that even though you're not watching Imperium right now, we can both agree that the rivers are a very deadly place in the world of Sanhok. So you want to avoid them at all costs. As GSG Europe able to heal up one of their players. That was Law. Should be able to get pretty nice and healthy as time goes by. But Inside Game still holding on strong. Fighting versus the Noisy Boys on a pretty consistent basis. But now Amiga Dragons, they're just getting choked to points right now in this choke point area with Team Dopes. They got so many angles. Tudor a little bit stranded from the rest of his team. He's going to have to take this in a 1v3 fashion versus Amiga Dragons. They spot him out last second. Tudor shall go down. Easy pickup normally for the Amiga Dragons team. That's going to be their 4th kill overall. But Team Dope, they just left so damn early on, not even trying to take the fight versus Amiga Dragon. And that was a fight that Tudor just couldn't really win for himself. GSG Europe trying to do a run from the southern side, trying to survive it. Novaz in the open there, finds one unlucky player. He's going to be picking up the kill. That's going to be a really good run of events for him. It's now Red Reserve down to only Novaz. They lost Victor, Frost, Class. Everyone just got eliminated, but still they picked up 5 kills for themselves on the Sanhok game. That is pretty impressive on its own. Team Dope going downhill. Slobos will be a casualty. Harab going for the compound of Yakuza. PX go for the spray with the barrel. But that's unfortunately only 1 knockdown he shall find. Yakuza, they are looking good. That res will be damn easy onto Ryan. They might even get contested by the teams up above. Team number 10 just peeking down on their position. That's going to be Bloodline, but Bloodline, unfortunately, the blue zone right on top of their position. They're going to have to jump down. Kapahala is going to be the only player up and alive, as Sebi from up above could be praying a few nice shots onto Kapahala of Bloodline. But Sebi taking his time on this one before taking the shots. GSG, also Europe, up on the southern side. Under pressure themselves. You can see Kapahala go for the spray. Take it. Take 1. Take 2. There you have it. It's like a free buffet. And that's going to be Sebi taking 2 kills for himself. But now, unfortunately, Sebi, you're going to have to bungee jump, but with no rope, my friend. Or parachute with no parachute. And that shall be the end. Amiga Dragons eliminated in overall 6th position. 5 teams still in play. I'm going to check once more.
I am back in.
You're back in?
I'm kind of behind you, at least. So, you know, it's still going to come down to you. But I got to say that that rotation on that boat by Yakuza has certainly paid off, as it has for the Noisy Boys, right? Coming in from the north. They've avoided a lot of the action. Now they are into the top 3, 4, or 5 teams.
5 teams indeed. TSC, you know what? Definitely way better performance than what they had early on Orango. They went out in last position. Now they're still making it into top 5 spot. They're going to be in the blue, ticking down. Phase 6, they're about to go into phase 7. That is not all dandy to play around. They're going to have to force on through. Great smoke coming out from Anthe of TSC. Able to hide behind it quite a bit. But unfortunately, the blue zone, very close by. But now the compound of Yakuza is going to be actually out of the circle. But that kill will be picked up by GSE Europe.
Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of them trying to get as many kills as they can while they're making their way in, trying to deal with these final circles. Of course, it's closing. It's in the hands of the Noisy Boys to take control, I feel.
Yep, Nate's coming into the kill feed once again. Law and Kamara of GSG Europe holding pretty damn strong, but now you're seeing one player, Savage X of the Noisy Boys and Imperium. We know this guy for 2020, and he is a clutch god. He can take these games so damn easily. You don't even understand what this guy thinks most of the time, as he's so unpredictable. But the man advantage is definitely not going his way. So 1v2v3, and he is definitely not taking the advantage. But you know what? He's snaking his way through, and snakes on Sanhok can make a difference.
I think Savage X is one of the most underrated players across the whole EU, in my opinion, because he's a jack of all trades, and he really fits and molds himself to how he's needed.
Yes, Europe, they're forced away. They're going to be in the blue zone. They lost one of their players, and they're still getting sprayed down. Yakuza, the blue zone's going to claim them, and now, oh my god, well, Savage X, we just hyped him up, Imperium, and he secures that chicken dinner. The second chicken dinner of this full split for the European region shall be going over to none other than the Noisy Boys.
And I think it was really off the back of both GSG and Yakuza not taking control, right? I get it. When you're around the blue zone, you're not sure, you want to wait. But when you're in phase 5, 6, 7 onwards, blue zone is going to come to you either way. So why not at least attempt to push in so you can try and keep one person alive or keep your game alive? Two teams, in my opinion, especially in Sandhawk, are way too passive come late game, and they only end up getting messed up. Yeah, they might deny a point or two in the blue zone, but really, are you benefiting anything? No, you're not.
There's only one time in Sandhawk where passiveness works, and it's when you're snaking your way through. You know, Sajax was playing pretty passive down there, but when it was the prime time to strike, that's where he went for it. So I'm really happy with them. The Noise Boy securing himself 7 kills along the way, also plus a chicken dinner on Sandhawk. Great stuff indeed. GSG Europe, you know, a team that we said in Imperium, we don't have too much information on this squad, but you got to say on a Sandhawk game, 2nd position plus 8 kills, that's still a pretty good bargain going their way.
Yeah, and also Yakuza, they got 7 points in the first game. They've now got 3rd place with just 10 points with 4 kills. That's 14. That's 21 points in 2 games. That's an average of 10.5 points per game. And yeah, it's only 2 games, but what I'm looking for is consistency. I want to see the average up there of most of these teams. And the Noisy Boys, they're also hitting it, only, of course, a lot heavier.
Yeah, so Yakuza, PX. I talked about their boat rotation right away from Kao. I think still it was maybe a little bit too early. They were going a bit in the unknown. But they did find themselves in a really good spot, taking 3rd position with a boat rotation to make your way over to the southeast section of that mountain. I gotta say, their rotations seem pretty on point because they're another team that we don't know too much about. So it seemed like the underdogs that we just didn't really know too much about are coming in really strong in the first 2 games.
Just because we haven't seen much of them doesn't mean that they haven't been looking and doing their research, right? You know, it was a thing of like, there was a couple of nights ago on one of the scrims, I know for a fact that Cakes from Sirens was, instead of participating, she stood back and watched the stream and watched how the other teams were performing. And even though they're only scrims, you still get, there's still always going to be a certain pattern of how teams give or take play in these games that you can extract and gather from watching them.
I'm just going to be also updating real quick the overall standings so you can have just maybe a little quick look on what happened so far. And we do have the standings updated, so I propose, Imperium, that we take a quick little look-sees. So there you go, Inside Game still in pole position. They started off with 30 points. They pick up an extra 11 up in the second game on Orango. Oh, I'm sorry, on Sandhawk. But now the Noisy Boys, they're coming in clutch from behind. 2nd position with 39 points. Ooh, they're fighting for the lead, but they got such a huge lead. Actually, unlike 3rd position held by Bloodline, they're running away with the advantage.
They are. It's a 2-man fight so far. Still early days, though.
Yeah, of course.
Group C and D to play. There's many factors to gather with. You're gonna have the days where it's like Group A versus Group C. But at the end of the day, I'm overall not surprised with who we are seeing at top. I'm a little bit surprised with Inside Games because I think they were kind of struggling in some of these scrims. But at the end of the day, when they need to get the job done, they're getting the job done, being in first place after 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. Inside Games can be really happy of what they've been doing so far. I think they can definitely hit that consistent remark because they're a team that we've been known for quite some time, and we do know what they are capable of. And I hope that all you guys in the chat also know what these guys can do because they are pretty damn insane when they need to pull off some really good results. With that said, no, overall score still pretty good. Bloodline in 3rd position. I think they got a lot of support in the chat. No chicken dinners, but still in 3rd position. They've been hitting some pretty consistent results. Same as Team Dope. Also, the thing is, right, that is the kind of thing that you got to keep in mind. Being consistent is great, but when you hit that chicken dinner, that big point first game, that's what really spikes you up in the overall standings. Literally for Bloodline, 1 chicken dinner, also for Team Dope. 1 chicken dinner, and they can climb up in already 1st position. It's just day 1. It really shows that 1 chicken dinner in the early stage could have a really long in advantage.
Of course, definitely. Getting that 20-point win, definitely going to be a huge benefit to you. But looking at the bottom of the standings, because I think now that we've had 2 games, we can talk about it a little bit more. Be My Loot are probably the biggest surprise to me. 5 points in 2 games. That's realistically not good enough. It's not going to be good enough if it continues. So I want to see that really be in the opposite end on phase 3 and see if they can rise back up the table. Because it's only 5 points out of 2 games, but still only 20 points behind Bloodline, right? 20 odd points. So if they do get that chicken dinner, it's going to be that 20 points with 5, 6, 7, 8 kills. It's going to be all the difference they need.
I mean, you also got to think to yourself, right? This is only the top 16. Once we have like Group C and Group D joining the mix, is going to be top 32 they're going to play with. And you got teams that are extremely impressive on their own, right, in the European region, like Godsend. You got yourself Gun, the real deal. You got so many big boy teams coming into this. Scrim Farm, 4 Romanian men. Like, these teams, they are going to be trying to climb and aim for like top 5 position minimum. And you know that if you're already struggling on the first day without even having Group C and Group D joining the mix, it's not a really good, first impression, because you only got 6 days, and after that, we're gonna say instantly goodbye to 8 teams.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I said at the end of the day, these teams should be taking it game by game, day by day. So V4, Be My Loot, Sirens, forget about what's happened in the first 2 games. Go into Miramar. It's a new map, new opportunities. If you've done your relevant research and you feel confident and just go into it with a clear head, that's going to put you in a much better chance to get that strong result. Because if you have the weight of that previous bad result or the previous bad results on your shoulders, you're only going to get weighed down. You're only going to be slower to react. You're only going to be kind of more negative. And it's not that you have to be super duper positive, but just having a clearer head, like I said, makes a big difference. That
mentality comes into play. Going over the schedule once again for you guys who maybe joined the broadcast a little bit late. We got 4 games happening today. Already 50% done for day number 1. Erangel game was won over by Inside Games. Really well executed with 30 points going overall in their vicinity. Sunhawk was just won by the one clutch move of Savage X for the Noisy Boys to close it up. So double chicken dinner coming for both of these 2 teams. And then Miramar will be the next map coming around. So we had a lot of aggressive players coming out onto Sunhawk, and now we're going to go on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Some Miramar action focused entirely around rotations. A lot of teams are really good on rotations, and I really like to see who's going to be the rotation, connoisseur team.
the rotation
connoisseur. It's like, even if it's an English word, it sounds very French. I don't know why. Connoisseur.
Is it a French word? Isn't connoisseur a French word?
Is it? Now you're putting question marks in my head, Imperium. I'm not sure. Is it? It's not. I don't think so.
Talking about French, even though they've had a bad 2 games, the one kind of positive, if you're going to look at Red Reserve, is that they are the only team in the top 16 to have more kill points than placement points. And that's not much right now, but if they get a great placement result on game 3 with a few kills on top of what they have right now, it's going to put them in a better position than, let's say, Be My Loot or the Sirens. It's just, I'm always looking out for those little bit of positives that can help turn it around for a team, and that's something they should be using to help perk up their positivity.
They might be striving to become like the European RRQ Athena.
CSM?
Well, I was going to say RRQ Athena also. You know what? They both are okay. They're both pretty damn impressive and aggressive. But with that said, Imperium, that's the chicken dinner for the Noisy Boys on game number 2. We still got 2 more to come up. So you know what? Don't go anywhere. Myself and Imperium can fall in for a very short break, and we'll be ready for Miramar in just a few short little minutes. See you guys in a bit.
Roy's countering. Perkafest gets the knock.
Oh, another one.
Quick counter.
The trade. Sam with the drop shot from behind. Unsuccessful on that Jake. Coming in for the support.
And we are back. That was one hell of a short break, and you know what? That's good for us, because that's more action coming your way, way more faster. Imperium, game numero 3. It's going to be on Miramar. That's why I took the accent right there.
El Caliente.
Muy bien.
We're going over to Mirror Mania, as we used in the PMWL. And, of course, inside game, Noisy Boys setting themselves up quite nicely coming into Phase 3. Time to Shine are still looking pretty good in 5th place with 14 kills, joint highest kill count. However, to caveat that, 12 of those 14 kills were in game 1 alone. So maybe look to be a bit more consistent from a kill count in this third game.
Yeah, a lot of you guys at home might be like, these guys are asking a lot, like consistency after only 2 games. You know what? Hey, you want these teams try and get some good performances in. So, of course, you want to be consistent since game 1. Exactly, because at the end of the day, right, you're only going to have like so little teams of Europe actually going to, you know, PMWL and also going over to the global championship. So really, we're going to have to like filter out all of these teams and get only the best of the best, because that's what Pmco strives to do, is get the best teams over on the international stage. But with that said, Miramar is underway.
We have high standards, Max. We have high standards. You know, we're looking for the cream of the crop, the cherry on top, the whatever you want to call out, whatever phrase you want to use.
Yeah. I mean, we say that, but like we washed up ourselves, you know what? But still, we're hypocrites in that sense. But you know what? We only want the best. We don't say, guys.
Tell people that, okay,
sorry. Our cover's been blown away. No.
So playing path a little bit north in Miramar. It's the biggest map, of course, in the PUBG Mobile arsenal. So this kind of playing path isn't too bad, right? Because it's not heavily in one direction. What I've noticed, though, is that teams tend to like to drop more towards the west side of Miramar as opposed to the east.
For sure. I mean, one team that's going to be happy about this is Red Reserve. Like, Red Reserve got some pretty decent playing path throughout this entire tournament on the first 3 games. You know what? They're going to have Impala under control. Omega Dragons getting pretty close by. I don't think Omega Dragons are really going to try and contest that too much. They're going to continue a bit further down south. But I think there's an extra team hidden behind them. Is that team number 6?
It's
Inside Games?
What, in terms of around
there's a Inside Games behind them.
Reserve?
Okay, yeah, around between Red Reserves and Omega Dragons. What the hell are you doing there, my friend?
You got Inside Games, you've got Omega Dragons, you've got Red Reserve, and you've got Yakuza all in play. This kind of playing path is also beneficial for Sirens, at least because it's going to be easy access for Le Cabrera. And then Phase 1 Circle, Max. You couldn't have asked for a better start to this game. In my eyes, most teams are pretty much already inside. So we might see a little bit of passive start bar what's going on in Impala.
I like how we say like passive start and we instantly transition over to kill from Class onto Yuzi with a Yuzi. Man, he killed his brother. How do you do? Okay, no, that was okay. You know what? I got to do something with the Yuzi name eventually.
Was it best anime betrayal?
Yeah, top 5 biggest anime betrayals. Number 1, Yuzi kills Yuzi. Oh my god, that's a good old Watch Measure reference. But look at that, another fight of Inside Games fighting versus the Noisy Boys, and even got Will. What the hell are you doing there, Will? I don't know, but Elusive picking up the kill. Elusive, he loves playing with the M16. I gotta say, he's been popping off with that weapon.
You could say he's been pretty elusive so far in these first 2 games.
How many puns can we fit in the early stage, Imperium?
Don't see, the thing about puns is you don't acknowledge them, you just let them ride off into the sunset like you do in Miramar. But
this is not the area to go down, my friend. You got to play right. Wait, does he have to... Wait, what the hell is happening? He's getting punched. What the hell is happening? Backfire. He's going over to a punch fight. Oh my god, WWE in fashion over here. Imperium, what? How did... I mean, the play path was so good too. How do you have people in this position with no weapons? Backfire with a handgun. I think that's a deagle in his hand right there. Daddy's around the corner. I mean, this is very unexpected indeed. Going over with a UMP. He's going to connect the early kill. What?
I do want to say that Backfire got some clean deagle shots on the Whiskey. Like, Whiskey's down to half health. You know, with the UMP, that's, you know, that was a valiant effort, but I don't know. This is, I told you, Max, it's Mirror Mania. All gloves are off. We're in the Royal Rumble. We're in the, we're looking for to be crowned the Mirror Mania champion. And hey, it all kicks off right from the start. They don't mess about.
I mean, we're all having fun, and we're just having fun, talking about what's happening over here. But still, this should not happen. Like, with the circle being really good, was the playing path. It was high up north, like not heavily up north. It's still pretty central overall. Like, really having 3 teams in such a weird position, undiluted in the open, moving over to compound by foot. That is something that, at a competitive level, you should not see happen. It's still the first day, so I'm going to give him some slack, but, like, still, you should not see this. You will never see this in, like, PMWL and stuff.
In my opinion, it's more the fact that if you're going to drop and you're not really sure exactly who might be dropping with you, and I think there's an element to it here, is that you're nearly always better off dropping as a full squad in the same area, or at least 3 members in the same area, whereas Inside Games haven't really done that, and they've been the one to pay the price the most, especially when you look at the fact that they're on top of the leaderboard after 2 games.
Yeah, Inside Games, they still only have 2 players. That's Dylan Sands and Miramar. Like, it's really the place where you want to avoid losing players in the early stage, because it's like, it's the biggest map. You said it right. It's the biggest map. There's no reason to have that happen. But Atlantis Cycle, Gusian, and he's going to be also a little bit split away from the rest of his team. They got a 2-2 split as V4. They're going to be looking there. That's Cruel. They're going to be leaving Cruel alone in his compound. Huh.
I don't think they know that Atlantis Cycle are there. So I was just trying to do a little bit of early loot. And I don't get why, I think it was Guisan or Sheriff threw out the smoke, because there's no need to. You have a building in play. You instantly alerted your location. Actually, no, okay. I'm gonna say, okay, that was maybe a good idea because they used it to get into the vehicle to disengage. So you know what? On that note, that was a good effort.
I just banged the information on the kill feed. I think Time to Shine are down to only 1 player, and that's Naya. And Yakuza PX, they're going for the engage. They got a few players that took a little bit of damage, but he is just cornered up. He can't really do too much right there. 1v2 is going to be hard for him to pull off. You know what? He does get Ryan, switches over to the second player. Nice. It was Luco. But that is the end. Actually, they still have Daddy around in the corner, so Time to Shine is not over just yet. But they got 3 players really that are just out of the equation entirely.
Yeah, Yakuza lost Uzi, as we saw early on in the game, right? But at least they're bouncing back hard. 3 kills so far in this game. They're currently 7th, respectfully, in the leaderboard with Time to Shine in 5th. So at least in the early parts of the PMCO group stage, getting ahead of your opponents is always a benefit to secure that top 24 spot. You know, as you get through these days, I think it's teams are going to be relatively happy just staying in the top 16. Being in first is going to be great, but you also got to be realistic that you don't need to be in the top 24. If you have a couple of strategies that you want to use, you don't necessarily need to use them all at once, kind of thing. You want to leave a couple of elements of surprise against your opponents for the finals or even the semifinals.
At least if I can mention something positive coming out from this early game for Time to Shine is that Daddy was able to flex his really cool looking buggy skin. That's the entire thing. It was a pretty cool skin. Cool. I enjoyed it. I would like it for myself. But yeah, Yakuza, they got the information. They are pushing it. I think that you might not want to push that one too much. You never know where team, because Inside Games, you got Sands. You could take a few shots if he really wants to. Yeah. But this is a very, I think you can agree with me on that one, Imperium. Really weird Miramar early stage.
The only thing that's helpful for pretty much all these teams fighting. Hey, the next team gonna go in towards that ain't it, Chief. That ain't it, Chief.
No. I think. Wait, let me look at my watch on my wrist. I think this is a world record for the shortest lived breach in PUBG Mobile history. Congratulations! You won a prize, which is you go straight back to the lobby. There you go. That's your prize. Congrats.
Wow. Feels bad, man. The shade thrown by you, Max, on it. Oof.
I'm sorry, dude. I mean, literally, like, there's one way X Team could have fixed it. Okay. I gotta be savage from time to time. But, like, literally, this compound has, like, a few walls around it. If you don't know if a compound has teams inside of it, don't go inside the compound in the center of it. Exactly. Go on the walls next to it and then play from there.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah, I couldn't have said that by myself. That's why the kind of thing where it wasn't like, I was like, oh my god, they might win. It was just like, yeah, they're screwed. Sayonara, konnichiwa. We're reserved disengaging away from Impala, gonna get onto the high ground outside or around the junkyard area, setting themselves up. You have the two mountains that look like that are gonna be close by. if the circle does go in that direction, they can move there. And I think Red Reserve have looked pretty good in Miramar across the board compared to some other teams. And I think that's going to benefit them coming into PMCO.
Got a few good results and in the scrims on Miramar specifically. Like they got a few nice, really good positions. So we'll see if they can repeat their amount of success coming into the actual competitiveness of PMCO. TSC got himself a really good high ground position. We see a lot of teams do that. One team that I can mention that does that for PMWL East is Orange Rock. And the amount of information there is huge. As long as you rotate downhill when time comes by. If you rotate too late, you're going to get camped. You can't go down. You can use that position as long as you're respectful of teams around you.
Phase 2, shifting up north, but nothing too crazy. It's going to put a bit more pressure on the likes of Noisy Boys, Inside Games, Yakuza, and Time to Shine. That is last player standing, because even wrapping around on the edge, you could get caught out by the likes of Omega Dragons and Bloodline over on the west. But right now, I think it's overall kind of relatively nice and easy for all the teams that are inside the circle. It's about gathering as much information as you can and get into that relatively high ground position.
Yeah, I really think that here you could even predict a little bit more where you could easily rotate from. The northern side is completely free real estate because you got all the, like, I'll call them like the unused compounds of Miramar, all next to Campo Militar. Like, a lot of compounds around there are in place. So if you want to rotate safely, there is, of course, La Cubriera up northwest. It's a little bit played by Sirens. They did move away from that location. But literally, northeast is a position where you can easily rotate inwards and you got a few nice compounds to play with. So literally, if you read this game and you did your research on where teams like to drop, it shouldn't be too much of an issue to get a position in circle.
Dale looking to deal himself away from the Noisy Boys. Of course, not inside the circle, so gonna have to try and find a way in. The Noisy Boys having 2 players in that minivan as they look to try and fight their way in. And Red Reserve, once again, just staying nice and safe in that compound by the side of the road. It's not high ground, so they don't get that much information. But the good thing is that if a team goes for the breach, they'll be way more prepared because all 4 members are inside that one compound. Disengaging away is going to be a little bit risky if they leave it too late, depending on the next circle shift. But that's something we'll have to wait and see where the story goes for Red Reserve's rotation. Yeah.
Timing is really key when you play on Miramar, right? Because you've got so much terrain to play around. You can easily get sniped from across the map if teams are really good on their shots. So timing is always going to be key to move away from specific locations, to aim for another location to take control of. We'll have to see if teams can do that. For example, Red Reserve here, then a dip, then a little bit of a valley side. They got a decent compound to protect themselves from. But teams, if the circle centers up on them, is a location that maybe you don't want to hold on to for too long because you're going to bring a lot of unwanted attention to you. So as long as Red Reserve can time moving away from this location in time, I think they'll be okay.
Then on the other end of the spectrum, so to speak, Pmco currently 15th overall. As I said, one of the teams that are struggling over the first couple of the games, 5 points in two games there, at least have themselves a bit better set up, spread a bit more evenly across this bigger compound area, a few warehouses in play. But Sirens rotating for the north, trying to get a bit more central. They stopped to do scouting instead of pushing, and like we've seen them do in other maps. Intelligent, better prepared. It's what I want to see them pull off.
Yeah, the Sirens are something that they do really good is scouting, right? And I think that the thing that they struggle a bit, and we talked about it just a few seconds ago, is timing to know when they must disengage from those locations. The Kendi is where they play the best, in my opinion, and they got that timing down, but now they got to also have that timing consistent on these other maps, just like on Miramar. The Yakuza are going to see a few teams rotating on by. Shouldn't be too much of an issue, but Team Dope making their way down in Graveyard.
I really liked that rotation by Team Dope. It was wide, but not too wide. It was direct. They knew where they kind of wanted to go, or where they do want to go. Of course, they're by no means out of the woods yet, because the Phase 3 has once again gone up north, centered a little bit, but look at the amount of teams down south. You know who's going to benefit the most that isn't outside the circle? Romanian squad, baby. They can come in from the west.
Exactly. Like I said it right. You could easily read this circle, and yet like 90% of the lobby is focusing down south. I'm a little bit saddened by that, because I really think that you just got a rotation that's just so easy to read on this circle. But I think no one is really seeing it right
Max,
now. Yeah.
That's why I said most teams like to land on the south side of the south and the southwest side of Miramar. no teams really go on the Northeast, and that's where it's benefited like the Sirens and Romanian squad. I think teams could do with being a little bit more dynamic outside of their drop spot.
Not this cycle. They had a play over here earlier on their zone, and now they sent the entire squad to hold on to this position. It's pretty good. It's a good foothold. You've got a lot of fields around you, so if teams try and breach it, you're going to see come from a mile away. Tudor, unfortunately, he's going to be seeing that nade not a mile away, a little bit too close to his face, and that's going to be Tudor knocked down. Team Dope could go for the res, but putting yourself down in a field like that with a team close to your position, I don't think that's something that Team Dope really want to aim for.
Nah, it was always going to be hard for them, but they're getting to a point where they're hitting a bit of a metaphorical brick wall, or at least an Atlantis cycle brick wall, followed by a potential third party, the Noisy Boys, in around the graveyard area. Hopefully that is only a metaphorical graveyard area and won't become a literal graveyard area for them. Should they find a way inside the Circle's bloodline? Still waiting for Atlantis Cycle to get closer to them. Overall, still 15 teams, 48 players coming into the blue zone of phase 3, moving in, Max.
Yeah, still, we had quite a few more kills than I was actually expecting towards phase 3, right? I was expecting maybe to have a little bit less kills going over in this lobby. It does happen from time to time, so we'll have to see. And it's also still the first game. Teams are maybe still learning a little bit how to play around these other teams, how they rotate. As talking about rotations, we've seen one struggling quite a bit. Yakuza pins some pressure down from a distance. But you know what? The South is going to be slowly getting more freed up. You got a lot more room to play around as these teams try and play around the north, the more east and western edges. It's going to be freeing up a lot of room down south.
Like, you know, simple thing that Yakuza did there by being not super proactive, but still moving around as the Circle has gone away from them, is that they pushed TSE away. And by pushing TSE away, they've pushed TSE closer to other teams, which is going to give them more freedom to rotate when the next Circle does shift on up. I'm worried, Max, as we get into phase 4, by the separation of Sirens. But they will now have to move in towards a compound held onto by Be My Loot. And look at this. You got those fields by water treatment / hacienda. That's a no-go area. So that really eliminates a lot of the landmass available for these teams. And then you have the road and play down south. This is very, very tricky.
Did see a few seconds ago, Daddy, the last player time to try and get taken out. So they indeed got eliminated in 15th position. That's the end for them on this third game. But now I saw Team Dope slowly trying to wrap around on the more western edge. There is a Romanian squad up there. And also I believe there was Be My Loot that was very close by. So they could have a little bit of an encounter over there. I think that definitely Team Dope has the good idea. After can they pull it off? We'll have to see. But I think that definitely Team Dope, they've been a little bit more original in their approach compared to all the teams down south.
Atlantis Cycle know there's one or two teams behind them, and they have to eliminate them before they rotate further into the Circle. Sirens did get a knockdown onto one of the members of Omega Dragons. That's all well and good, but you can't take on too many fights at once, and that's where being too spread out can go against you. You've alerted the attention of Be My Loot. Now you've got to make it work onto Omega Dragons first.
It's okay as long as you don't get too close to Be My Loot, right? But you can hold on to the mountaintop. Yeah. But after that, if Omega Dragons come next to you, you must control it. And I think that's something they struggled on quite a bit. And we saw that recently in like some Miramar games. That when they have a good position, you need to use it properly. But it seemed like Be My Loot did get the upper hand onto Ali for a second.
They seem to be kind of constantly rotating instead of maybe being confident on their position, and it's going slightly against them. X team on the Noisy Boys outside the Circle down the south side of this phase 4, yet to make their way in. Sirens will get that revive off, but they've now wasted time as Omega Dragons are shooting across in their vicinity.
Yeah, Omega Dragons, they know they're not in control right here. And I think they're sending actually a scout high up north, maybe to scout for the compound that was not really occupied. I didn't really see on the minimap if it's been taken over by anyone. Remaining squad really close by. Team Dope were going in that overall vicinity. So I think that maybe a team did take control of that one. The Noisy Boys, they get destroyed. And I believe they just got eliminated. That is indeed the case. The Noisy Boys are out. 12 teams now remaining as phase 5 is just around the corner. This game is getting more and more aggressive, and I'm loving it.
I think they took quite a few players of Bloodline, if not the whole squad of Bloodline out
Bloodline,
with them. No, there's still Kapahala left standing, but
that's it. Yeah,
he's out in the field. Atlantis Cycle looking in his direction. Oh, hello darkness, my old friend Kapahala. They've come to talk to you again.
Yeah, I mean, Kapahala, like, if only those tractors would work, you know, that'll be fun. Just, like, go slowly away from there. But unfortunately, they're not in working condition. There's a big L for you in the chat, but that's okay. Kapahala, still Bloodline, able to do a little bit of work, rotate in. But still, if they die here, it's only 1 point going their way. So Kapahala survived for a little bit longer, and he might be able to get a few extra points.
And here's the thing, because it's out in the open, Atlantis Cycle can't really risk going aggressive onto the last player of Bloodline, but they also have to be careful that if they move too far into further into the circle to prepare for the next phase, they could in theory get possibly backstabbed by Kapahala. It's very tricky for Atlantis Cycle. However, I do like the way they're handling it. The next phase has shifted up on the northwest.
This zone is very intriguing. Really good for GSG Europe. Romanian squad, they did rotate from the more northern side. We said they could take advantage. In my opinion, they did. Just very unfortunate run of events as their compound is going to be a little bit chucked out of the safe zone of the next circle. But let's see how teams are going to play around that. But yeah, now GSG Europe, a lot of teams are going to be pushing in that location. They got a little bit of a mountaintop. I think literally just send players on a mountaintop and take control. If you play aggressive, if you deny teams rotating, they could literally take the chicken dinner by just standing still.
Yeah, they need to pull off a time shine from game one.
Yeah.
And Siren's going to move away. They're going to shift up more north, get closer to Omega Dragons, which I think kind of makes sense because they had taken down a few members of Omega Dragons, so they know they have that man advantage. Yes, Aaron's gone down, but they still have 3 players up. But of course, Omega Dragons could still stab them in from the side. And I think Yadam is a little bit aware of that, trying to do a tiny bit of scouting.
Oh, Yatem running. Oh, well, no, rolling on down. They do make it over to the compound, actually, only losing 1 player. There was Ali actually explodes. You know what? That's where cool going out with a bang. But Yatem now taking the fight. 2 Romanian squads down to about 1 bullet HP remaining. And they're going to go for the push. 1 bullet is all you need. They take it down. No. And that is the end of the Sirens taken down. But now also Mega Dragons. We're going to have to shift over to their POV as they're pushing on GSG Europe. And that's going to be one hell of a fight. And as I say that, I think that's the end of GSG Europe. Of the other team up north, Mega Dragons. GSG Europe playing damn aggressive, holding strong, as I said they had to do.
We're just losing players left, right, and center. On this side of Sirens, I don't get why they didn't full send it as a 3-woman team.
Yeah.
They should have joined up with Yatem. Yatem had the right idea, but I gotta give credit to her. At least she got a kill along the way. 7 teams left, 19 players. The Yakuza inside this circle down on the southeast side, high ground, but a lot of teams around them. Will they be able to handle it?
Yeah, GSG Europe doing exactly as I said, right? They're going for the high ground position. I would even say maybe you want to send an extra player or 2 in the little mini shack, little shed that's in the fields area, because that's going to be a very sought after area. And I think that having some pressure from up above and down below would add a lot of variety to your playstyle and aggressiveness going into this Miramar game. But now, Eat My Loot, they finally moved away from their compound. They've been playing pretty passive this entire game, but now they're knocking on the door of Yakuza PX. And Timies is up there alone. Luco is nowhere close to him to really engage and join up on the fight. So Be My Loot, they're the team currently making it uphill. Timer's going to try and buy some time with some utility.
There's also V4, and even though Yakuza are kind of protected from V4, a little peek of the head too much as the revive has been pulled out could go against Yakuza. Times looking for a bit of time to strike while Luco's in the back line. Definitely spread themselves a bit too thinly, I feel. And they are not in the circle for this latest phase. Wait, hold on, throw the smoke. Allow Be My Loot and V4 to engage on each other. And maybe you might be able to third party.
GSG Europe, I talked about it, right? If they took that position down below a little bit better, Team Dope would not have been able to take so much control. But now, because they delayed it too much, GSG Europe, they're out of the circle. They're not controlling this area anymore. Time is now, some utility coming his way. 15 seconds before the blue zone starts knocking on their door. It's going to be intriguing to see how things come on through. But Rav, Romanian squad, is going to be taking the L on that one. Knocked down. But Time is, he's going to be engaging onto Be My Loot. Taking one down. Taking potentially a second. And for the final spray, gets it with the blue. Makes it back into the smoke. Nice. And he's able to actually barely survive it. The sprays just don't connect on the side of Be My Loot. And now Time has still got first aid. He's not going to be using it. And I think he should have gone for the heal up. And that's going to be very, very heavily punished by Be My Loot.
You were in the smoke. Why didn't you heal up?
I don't know, dude. There's no idea.
Like, it was a great job done by Yakuza by Times. And here's the thing. Why didn't Luco stick with them? Come on. Miramar is the kind of map where you can get the strongest result with as many players left in the late game as possible. You gotta stick together. You cannot spread out like that. missed opportunity for Yakuza.
And when you have that adrenaline rush, that's when maybe some mistakes ensue, and I think they just got a little bit like, oh, I want to go for the fight, I want to take the clutch, but maybe there was not the opportunity, and watching Luca of Yakuza bites to dust out in 7th. 6 teams still remain. Now all the teams that were playing on the east, they're going down here. Romanian squad going to be doing that. Bmailu also, Romanian squad, they're delaying that rotation a little bit. They still got so much visibility in the field. And I'm really surprised to see that GSG Europe, they're playing on the edge of the circle. They're really going to get bullied once those smokes wear out, Imperium. They're in so much trouble.
Yeah, but once again, this is the kind of circle where you can't really play in the middle because you're going to have people surrounded by you. It's out in the open. Northern edge of the circle, GSG. Out in the open, but they have those little shaky little hay bale in play. And Rosq gonna get put under pressure.
You know what? I gotta respect it. Really good double knockdown going to GSG. The grenades, I think, a little bit too far to actually connect. You know what? Still really good attempts. I do respect the hassle. Wait, that grenade.
Yep.
Oh my god, if it was cooked a little bit less right there, I think actually... Wait, they got so many... You know what? They're actually getting close enough and they connect. Law's grenade of GSG Europe makes it happen. And now Ra really has to be on the move. He can't go for the res. That's going to be confirming the frag over onto Hope at 7. And I got to say, I didn't think they were in range. That's great. But now they're sending Levy over. Maybe don't go solo. That's a little bit too aggressive. Levy's going to be punished. Ra going to be switching over to the Uzi as they're trying to peek on over. And that's going to be why you want to play together. GSG Europe having a big lack of communication and synergy there. Going to be costing them 2 players.
What the? It's about... Just teams seem to...
You okay there? You're fine?
No, it's kind of like, you know, it's like being on the tippity top of the mountain, but only being halfway there.
Oh, they get
Full
it.
send to GSG. But in the end, the job is done. They're going to be able to get those revives off. Rosq, great effort, but goes down in 5th place. 4 teams left, 12 players up.
Yeah, it's a grenade that made it happen. And you know what? They're able to actually pull off the double res. I thought they lost 2 players for sure, but you know what? The fact that they finished that fight was good, so they did make up for it pretty damn well. But still, at the end, if they weren't for that push altogether, that would have not happened in the first place. 4 teams still alive and strong and going on for this 3rd chicken dinner. Who's going to be taking it as, unfortunately, Team Dope, they're the team currently under the most pressure, but even Bmailu, they're going to have to go downhill in the fields, and every team literally in this lobby that's still alive are going to have the angle onto Bmailu.
Also, V4, although they're inside the circle, pinched in between a number of these teams, they are going to go down. So Bmailu, they have that buggy in play. They're going to send it. That's a bit risky, but of course the remaining 2 teams are fighting against each other.
Yeah, Team Dope, they take the L on this Miramar game. 2 teams still in play. It's going to be all between GSG Europe and Bmailu. 3v4. And now GSG Europe, they're taking a little bit of high ground. They left Bobby a little bit further behind just to have that little insurance. Those little interesting angles you can make something out of. Playing with a Scar. Red dot in hand. And take those long distance shots. But the circles put him, unfortunately, cornered up against a wall. He's going to be peeking over that little mountaintop. Now GSG Europe, they got to go for Bobby. That's the only player they really need to focus on, because if they take him down, it's going to be the end. Bmailu will be eliminated. And I believe that's going to be it. And they have it. Very anticlimactic, but that's okay. GSG Europe, make it happen and take the 3rd chicken dinner of the day.
GSG, 6th place before this game. You give them a chicken dinner, and they can definitely find themselves on top of the standings. Bmailu climbing back. What did I say? They had to clear the air and come into this game and perk things up. And by God, have they done a 2nd place. Great result from them. It was just unfortunate that Bobby, who was the last player standing, was facing the blue zone damage, so it was even harder for him, and he couldn't do anything, and TSG just closed it out.
Yeah, he knew the terrain wasn't really working well for him, so I think it's good for him to die to the blue zone, denying an extra point away of GSG Europe, because you don't want to give them too much of a lead in the early stage, right? So I think that definitely he did the good decision of dying to the blue. They still picked up 4 kills going for themselves, and they've been playing pretty passive, especially in the mid stage. They had a compound up north that really no teams were aiming for too heavily, and they were just having the chill early to mid game stage, and there you go. They take a really good position at the end, taking 2nd spot for themselves.
Man, yeah, it's just overall a great game. The Noisy Boys having a weak position, getting 13th, but at least they got 6 kills, so that's going to help them stay somewhat in the top 5. Time to Shine at 15th, so kind of 2 of the top 4 or 5 teams had even inside games as well, right? 16th place, so it's going to make the overall standings a lot more even, Max.
Indeed. Let me just go over to our beautiful faces. There we go. As I update the standings, they should be updated already, so we're going to be seeing who is currently in the lead. We'll see if your bets are good in the chat. We'll try and see, but there we go. But still, Overall, really good performances. GSG Europe able to take that win. And you know what? After a second position last game on Sandhawk, and now a chicken dinner that shows their consistency, are they in first position now? I'm really seeing as I'm trying to update this.
They're updated.
Yeah, I'm trying to update right now. I'm a slow fellow,
Cool,
Imperial.
cool.
I'm there, and
It's fine.
3, 2, 1. I snap my fingers. Oh my god, look at these overall standings, and look how I was right. GSG Europe in #1 position with 54 points.
Top 3 teams, all chicken dinners. 54 for GSG, 46 for Noisy Boys. Inside Games with 43. Team Dope, not a chicken dinner, but the consistency of 42 points in 3 games. That's an average of 14 points per game.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah, that's literally
Quick math.
14 points per game. Quick math indeed, and quick results from them. Consistency shining through from this Romanian team. And then Yakuza PX, one of the teams that we don't really have that much info on coming into this. 5th place with 34 points. Again, nothing to be sniffed at.
Yeah, the unknown teams are doing surprisingly good. Like, you know, Yakuza PX and also GSG Europe. We talked about these two teams. Like, we don't know too much. Actually, almost nothing about these guys. And they're coming in with a bang to kick off PMCO for this full split. So really happy with how they've been able to start off this season. But overall, you know, really good game so far. We played already 75% of our games for the day. That's a very fancy way of saying we played 3 games out of 4, just to sound a little bit better and to sound a little bit more like Ocean Sharma. But with that said, you know what? We've still got one game to come up. It's going to be a wrangle whether the teams can play at their true potential.
Yeah, and the team that I'm kind of worried about is Time to Shine. Started the day, the great result, 12 kills, awesome stuff. But then 2 games later, after that, 3rd game, 24 points. They still only have 14 kills, and like I said, 12 of those was from the first game alone. Are they showing their inconsistency because they are a relatively kind of new team in terms of the roster coming together? And is Erangel their only good map? Something to think about.
Yeah, like we did talk about them in the scrims, right? Well, we're talking about the scrims a lot because right now it's our only point of reference for a lot of these teams, so we do have to mention it at the start of the tournament. But like they did struggle in terms of being consistent also in the scrims. So it really shows that what happens in scrims can somewhat translate over to the actual competitive games. So hopefully they'll be able to pick themselves up. You know what? We got 6 days. This is day 1. They can still make a comeback. But at the end of the day, what you need for them to do is to at least hit a minimum threshold to be able to qualify through the group stage, make it over to the semi-final. Sure, you don't need insanely good results, but just try at least to make your way through. And you never know. You might do just like UDR Killers where they struggle their way through. And at the end, kick it off with a bang for the finals and get that #1 position.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, there is a long way to go. But all we can really do is go based on what we are seeing so far in each individual day. Help to build up those storylines and see where the teams can take their journey. Like I said, they're coming into the PMCO unwritten book. They are the authors of their own story in this PMCO. Going to say who's going to have the final chapter, the final say at the end of the month.
Final game is also something that's going to be happening very soon. So you know what? As always, we're going to go for a very short break. Myself and Imperium will be back shortly to bring you the action once again for game numero 4. And that one is going to be a wrangle. Took the Miramar accent, but that's okay. So see you guys in hopefully a few short minutes. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for waiting. And it's a pleasure to bring you, finally, the final game of day one. It's been a wild ride, Imperium. We had some really good moves, really good chicken dinners, really good grenades, especially coming on through. Now it's all coming to an end with this final game on good old Erangel.
Yeah, it's good to go back to the hollow grounds of Erangel off the back of 3 games played across 3 different maps. And we've seen a few patterns in play of teams that have been able to handle themselves quite effectively, but we haven't seen one team get 3 consistent results. We've seen a team get maybe 1 bad result and then 2 very strong results, or kind of 2 solid results and 1 good result. So I'm looking in this last game for the likes of GSG, Yakuza, Dope to get that extra good result along with the Noisy Boys as well. So it's exciting. And then the team down at the bottom, try to end on a high note, guys. Try to learn and adapt from what you've seen and experienced in the first 3 games.
Yeah, especially because all of these teams will not be playing tomorrow, Imperium, right? It's going to be Group C and Group D facing up against each other. So, you know, a little bit of pressure right there. You don't want to stay on an L when you have a day off. But with that said, we're going to be putting our attention onto the final game of the day. It's Erangel. Once again, we're back on the grassy pastures. And we're going to see which one will be able to finish on top with the final game of the day. It's going to be intense.
It is indeed. But I'll tell you what is a good start, Max. That plane path, nice and center, going from north to south. You couldn't ask for any real kind of straighter plane path down the middle. It's going to give a lot easier access for teams to generally get to where they want to. Of course, Sirens in Severny, Roscu around the Zarki area. Team Dope on stall bar, nice and spread across.
You don't have 4 for a second. We're going to have an issue with the clean feed, but it seems like we're completely fine. Yeah, Severny's going to be taken by TSC. That's going to be a-okay for them. So that means that, you know, Sirens, they do like to drop there from time to time, but it seems like that will not be a possibility for them at this time. GSG Europe going to go very closely as Nai Pollyanna. Inside Games could try and join the mix if they really want to. You know what? This plane pass should be okay for one team. That's Amiga Dragons. They like to play down south. They're going to have access for the southern side for the first time this tournament. So, all fun and dandy for them, really.
Yeah, and, you know, Red Reserve stopping a little bit short, grab a couple of vehicles, head to North George. They don't have Universe in this set of games, so there's a lot more free, and Scream Farm as well, so there's a lot more freedom for them to rotate freely to George Pool. Phase 1 max, god damn, we are setting ourselves up for a nice game. Straight down the middle plane path, pretty much straight down the middle. Phase 1, oh, spicy coming into the late game.
I like it quite a bit. You know what? This river's going to be coming heavily into play. Sirens, they don't have Lac Nostra here, so they're just like, you know what? Free real estate onto Rosok. That's okay. We can afford to do it. I like this coming on through. That's really good reaction and reading from this team. Red Reserve.
Wow.
Also, free rotation going over to George Pole. Lucky enough for them, they were able to find a car. Car spawns are a little bit rare in the more northern side of the river, right up top of it. So you know what? Lucky they were able to find it. As we have a full car rotation coming out from Bloodline. Be My Loot. Got that mixed up quite a bit, but that's fine. Yeah, Be My Loot. 4-man car rotation. It's in the early stage. It's fine.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's the only
time it's fine. It's the only time it's fine. I'm still going to be a little bit shaking my finger in a disappointing manner, so to speak. But at least they'll be able to rotate and get to where they want to across the eastern side of this circle, going to Lipovka, or map, should I say. And they're not going to be too far away from the edge of the circle, and they have somewhat gathered a little bit of information along the way. So on their rotation into the circle, they might be able to nail that a lot more easily.
Atlantis Cycle, a team just like Amiga Dragons, able to actually get the southern side under control. They like to play in military base, and luckily enough for them, it's going to be uncontested, because in the past few days of the scrims, right before Pmco kicked off, they were getting contested over there quite a fair amount. So this time around in this lobby, not many teams are going to go over there. Same for also Bloodline. No teams are going to contest Pachinki. We're expecting a lot more passive stage compared to what we had on game 1.
Bloodline, the only ones in Pachinki. We've only seen them in scrims come up against UDR killers, but of course we won't see UDR killers anytime soon. So it's going to be nice and easy for them to rotate their way across. The only thing is that the timing of their disengagement away from Pachinki is going to be very important, because the phase 1 circle is not exactly central to them, but they're well inside it. So there could be teams around them rotating in that if they're wrong on the timing, they can have a player or two caught out. So just be aware of that, Bloodline.
Yeah, Bloodline, they've been improving a little bit their rotations. They've been a little bit more reactive, a little bit on their feet to be able to move away from those positions really quick. So the Noisy Boys, they had a lot of success in this location earlier, playing around the area of Gatka. I'm okay with that. They do tend to get back together a little bit quicker than they used to be. We got V4 that are very, very close by from their position. So Elusive, hopefully he's not going to get too far away. He's in the gutter. If a team's nearby, grenades could make really easy work of him. We know that's not the case, but they do not know, of course.
And I think it's okay to play around this gutter area in the really early parts of the game, especially when the circle kind of isn't hanging around that area for now. So they'll just move on out of sight for now. Might be able to catch out. That players Omega Dragons stopping early on, do a bit of scouting, and then push on away. And I think they have an idea there could be a player or a team there based on how the teams do drop on these kind of games, and with the playing trajectory being so dead down the middle between the east and the west, that it was always going to be easier to access the west side or the southwest side of this map.
On the POV of player 99 of V4, once again, very spread, did cause them quite a bit of hassle in the first game, right? They lost one of their very first players, I think it was player 99, over to the hands of the Noisy Boys. They lost another play on another side of the map. Like for example, right now, Marshall might just go down to mask off, but that smoke does buy him a lot of precious time, so you can just pick up some speed, make it out of there quite okay. But I want us to have V4 having their V stand for victory. They're French boys, so of course, boys, especially French boys, got to support French boys.
Course, gotta express that little bit of je ne sais quoi, as I have said previously. And in the last game they got a much better performance. 10 points, 7th position, 2 of them being kills. I think the one thing that's faltered them a bit, and we saw it in the first 2 games, is that they've lost players early on. So I would like to see a little bit similar to the last game, is that they have that full squad up coming into the 15-20 minute mark, so that they can hopefully gain more control of those circles and of course react much better as a full squad on those shifts. So excited to see what they can do in this game.
I like how Omega Dragons already left like the southern side next to Primorsk and very early on. They gave it up very early. I do like that. I think they did tend to overstay there quite a bit and maybe too long from time to time. But now they're already on the move, trying to look for compounds down south that could be valuable to play around. Really good high points to also gather information. I do like it. Red Reserve also doing their own rotation. They move away from Northern George Pop pretty soon. And this compound here is actually a really good foothold with this phase 1 circle showing up.
It gives a lot of information. It's relatively high ground. You can look in the direction of Rosshawk so competently, and even up north, of course. As you're coming from the west, you already know what's on the west, so you have easy sight lines on the east. And yeah, coming into phase 2, they'll be able to react a lot easier. The only thing is that if they are in the center of the circle, what I slightly fear about Red Reserve is their ability to hold on to those areas as a full squad. But let's see what happens.
I think they're a team that shine when they gotta go, just absolutely hammering a compound breach, and that's when they really come together. When you have good, like huge aggressive players like Victor, I think that's definitely some way to make those players shine on a personal level.
Yeah, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. In my opinion, Victor is one of the best individual players when it comes to PUBG Mobile Europe right now. You give him an inch and he'll take a mile in terms of his ability to frag out and turn a fight in his favor. The only thing is at times it can be the fact that he doesn't necessarily have that proper backline support. Like Kaylas is also a pretty solid fragger, but the thing is that he tends to play for that flank position or that aggressively frontline position, and that tends to go against Victor's benefits, as he tends to be left on his own.
I mean, he is the IGL, you know, class, so he's going to try and get a little bit more information and sidelines to assist his team. But GSG Europe moved away from Yasnai Polyana area, trying to go up north. No teams really played heavily around Severny. There was TSC that went around that location. They left it already really early, which I do like because it's on the edge of the circle. They want to take any kind of early risk. So I'm happy with TSC doing that move early on because they need some points right now to try and make up for not the strongest of day ones.
Yeah. Depending on where this phase 2 goes, hanging around Rosshawk could definitely be a bit of a viable option coming into not necessarily phase 2, but maybe even phase 3 because it's close to the edge of the North River and you get a lot of information. It's relatively high ground, like I say. No team is really on the southwest side of the circle, and which kind of makes sense based on that phase 1. And on that phase 2, because it shifts a bit more northwest, like inside games of Mega Dragons V4, you have a really easy clean rotation up into the north side of that river.
Or GSG, here it is. They're getting very close to TSC. They got Anthe on a little bit of a split position. You know what? I think it's good. It does offer a little bit of another foothold if they want to rotate to or just get extra information. But GSG, they're just lurking in the shadows right there, looking, having their eyes pried open and just licking their lips at the thought of potentially taking this compound away from TSC. But Albi, I think he heard the cars out for sure. They heard that. They got the information. And GSG, now they know they alerted them. They're thinking, or they fully commit to it, or they disengage. And I think they're going more for the disengaged approach of that position.
Keeping Kamara back a little bit isn't a bad idea, just in case, and to keep that back line in case the full squad was to get kind of engaged upon. But I really like that by GSG. It's not passive play, but it's composure, and it's also decision making.
It's thoughtful.
Right? You know, instead of hanging around there and not engaging, by disengaging, you've made that key decision to move away because you're playing for the later part of that game, right? Makes sense.
I definitely like how thoughtful they're trying to be on that one. Like, you know what? If it's not worth it now, why we go for it? But you know what? Time to shine. They find some worth in going for the compound breach. Wiz team dope, but no one's actually inside the building themselves. So that's going to be having a big difference. Harp joins the mix right there. Will's got the angles. Grenades would be huge if they can chuck them. Very nice nade from Nai right behind. He connects on Tudo and Bazzi. 2 players down, instantly dropped by those grenades. Harp and Slobber's going to try and make things happen. Another grenade comes around, man. Time to shine. They were just like easy peasy lemon squeezy right there. Didn't even get close to Team Dope, and they just took them out. 4 kills going for time to shine. Wow.
I wasn't expecting that to be executed so easily by time to shine because they had lost Daddy, and Team Dope kind of seemed a bit more prepared, but clearly time to shine made use of the Acker grenades a lot more easily than Team Dope, and yeah, eliminated just like that. And Team Dope were 4th place at the start of these 3 games, or coming into this last game. That's really going to affect their overall standings.
This is definitely an upset for them. Alan cooking up that nade. They believe behind the building, just to make sure. You never know where they might just be, but they're all just cornered up in this one building. Eurofan going to make a little bit of an off angle. Bloodline, they know this is an entire team fight. They should send the cavalry over, send the entire team to follow up on this fight, because you don't know just how many players. Grenade perfectly cooked over onto Alan. He's going to be taking the L on that one. Eurofan trying to take some time, and now Bloodline, they might just be a little bit too slow to join up on the party, and that might just be a flush onto Alan happening right there. But Burians is inside the building also. Burian shall follow suit, and Bloodline just really falling apart in this engagement.
Eurofan, can he push back Savage X while Kapahala joins on up? Whiskey's gonna confirm the kill on 2. Eurofan gonna come in and get a nice cheap kill. So that's gonna be Noisy Boys down to 3 players.
Yeah, it's revenge time for Eurofan. But you know what? The Noisy Boys now, they're taking control. They got the area for themselves. And only for themselves as Kapahala joined way too late. I'm surprised they didn't really follow up with also Burian. Like, they could have easily came over as a 2-man team. They just didn't make the most out of it. A little bit of a slower reaction coming out from the Noisy Boys. And now not from the Noisy Boys, from Bloodline, as now the Noisy Boys got a pretty decent position. But let's see where the circle just shall go the next phase. Ooh, interesting circle. Forcing all the teams down south over the river.
Yeah, and it's also pretty difficult and tricky to play around the shooting range area because a little bit similar to Prison, there's kind of nearly always a higher, more elevated area unless you're at the very tippity top. And even then, playing on that very tippity top, it can be quite difficult, kind of like Potato Hill. So it's going to be tricky, especially if a lot of teams want to rotate around that area. I would recommend, if you're down on the south, kind of stick towards the southwest area and just play on the edge of the circle. I can see a lot of teams playing on the edge of the circle in these games.
Grenade from Mask off. Looks pretty good. Oh my god, that's a bullseye. Threads the needle and finds that triple kill onto Bloodline. Kapahala. I mean, there's no worth to this area, so I think that he could have disengaged pretty easily. But I mean, he should have tried to disengage. Easy is maybe not the word I wanted to use right there because they had so many angles, the Noisy Boys. I don't think they would have allowed Muirfen to make it away.
No, Norfen was screwed, but Kapahala should have pushed back. He could easily go through Watertown, go on the coastline by that river, come in via ruins. There's always, as a one-man player, you're able to kind of hide around the wall lines of that ruins area and get a lot of information across the way. But now it's TSC, Red Reserve. They're going to clash up. Can the grenade get spotted out? Not quite just yet, but that will alert Red Reserve, Max.
Yeah, a little bit of damage onto Victor. You know what? Nice little early present in that fight. Just like, okay, you know what? We respect you coming over. A little tickle, exactly. Friendly banter, but just make sure don't get too close because, you know, it's COVID. You got that little distance over there. You want to be very careful. So just like, okay, we respect that. We're Red Reserve. We don't want to really get too much involved with TSC because, you know what? Germs are not our friends right now.
And what I find interesting that Red Reserve has sent the player kind of back. And I like that because in this area, with them being so nicely inside the circle, there's that risk that they could get kind of backstabbed somewhat. So having, I think it's K-Last in that backline area, you're kind of able to warn the rest of the team. However, one thing I don't like about it is that, look, if somebody comes in behind you, you're out in the open, you're probably going to get screwed anyway. They should have full sent it, or if they can, try to surprisingly full send it, even though they haven't got a knockdown on the TSC.
You full pop into the kill feed, and most of the time when that happens is not really for the good reasons. It's mostly them on the receiving end of the fight. So Crawl, unfortunately, will be confirmed out of this game by Kev as a cone. Hey, dude, I'm so proud. Like, you know what? The scrims are good for the teams and the players to prepare. They're also good for us because if we have a team name just like, or a player that's really hard to say, we prepare. And now I can say Kev as a cone without any issue. Easy peasy, dude. Easy peasy.
Okay, stop stealing my word, man. Stop stealing my word.
I used to say easy peasy before
stealing things. Talking about stealing things. The circle has shifted over to the west. So that, I think that's overall much better for these teams. I know it might sound stupid because a lot of teams are outside the circle, but the reason why is because these areas, there's a few more compounds in play and there's some clearer high ground to try to gain control of. It's just going to be hard getting to that point inside the circle from the east.
You got that hilltop to the left of the circle. Like, that is where you want to go. No teams have took it. So yeah, Omega Dragons could be a team aiming for that position. Remaining squad also, if they really want to, as Victor going to be initiating the fight versus TSC. Victor's on a really big off angle without the rest of his team. Wait for your team to slowly try and push up on TSC, and he should be good because they're really on the receiving end of this fight. And now X team down below, they want to try and get involved. They want a piece of this cake. And TSC like, okay, we give up on this fight. We're back over to the compound, and we're going to leave Red Reserve in this troublesome position.
And that's why Red Reserve messed up. They're closer on the edge of the circle. Teams came in. K-Last is on the off angle. He got taken out. Kliss is being knocked down. Nova's going to get knocked down. Now Victor's on his own.
Beg for mercy. Well, you know what? You better beg for mercy, Red Reserve, or otherwise you're just going to go down. Victor trying to join the party, trying to get a little bit more involved. He's trying to take control. On to the left, he's got one play on his left, one play on his right. It's just too much for Victor to deal with, and that's the end of Red Reserve, taken out in 15th. X-Team picking up a bunch of juicy kills.
I'm not surprised. I kind of predicted it. Yeah, okay, if the circle hadn't gone so heavily to the west, it might have been a bit easier. But I mentioned about the third party, the backstab, and that's exactly what has happened. Red Reserve, we got to play a little bit better for that late game, while the inside game is going to push in and potentially engage upon by Be My Loot.
You know what? Inside games, they're not too happy of Be My Loot being around here, as a lot of teams, like TSC, they delayed their rotation away from the western side. Now they're going to have to make it not through one team anymore, now through three teams currently on the very edge of the circle. They can't even wrap up north because there's just so many teams on the outskirts that are all playing on the edge because it's such a flat terrain in the center. This is very tricky for TSC to get out of.
I'm going to disagree with that because it's still only phase 4. The phase 5 blue zone will be, of course, a bit harsher, but I think it's better for them to be outside the circle rather than out in the open, inside the circle, pinch around all these teams. I'm not saying it's going to work out, But that's kind of my perspective and counter argument to what you justifiably mentioned, and it kind of makes sense what you said.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair, Imperium. We'll just have a little chat after this stream because I think we're gonna 1v1 Ruzy Red Dot.
Fight me, mate. Fight
Exactly, we'll fight you. That's okay, Imperium. We'll put the results over on Instagram later on. But Backfire, unfortunately, that's the situation is going to really backfire against him. He's going to be out. Dale, unfortunately, trying to deal with this kind of position. But unfortunately, Inside Games really under a lot of pressure. A lot of teams around them really in a troublesome spot.
And the kind of more they know players around them are getting knocked out, killed, the more space they're going to have to climb in. And now they've been able to get into the edge of circle because they took their time. Now Mega Dragons and Atlantis Cycle, Sebi is on his own inside that building.
I talked about it. Atlantis Cycle, they went for it. There was that hill on the left. They just took that position for themselves. There's no one lucky because they scouted behind them. Like, okay, no one from the western side. We can only have to focus on the north, south, and even over mainly to the east of that position. So I really think that Atlantic Cycle have a really good setup, a really good rotation. Now, can they use that position to good avail? As this circle centers up on it perfectly. A lot of teams are going to... Everyone is over on the east edge, Imperium. Everyone is going to have a rush for that position of Atlantis Cycle.
Just hurt for the teams up in the northeast. But of course, it's going to really help GSG and even V4, even though they're very close to each other, because they are close to the edge of the circle, and there's no real other teams around them, bar the two teams that are already in there.
Yeah, I think that also Romanian squad could be a big factor going into this one. They're taking a fight currently up north. If they get themselves out of this fight, then aim for the northern side of the hilltop of Atlantis Cycle. They don't even have to take a fight with Atlantis Cycle. They have to go for the rotation now and end that fight versus Yakuza as Uzi is still behind, or just leave it, which seems like that's what they're doing. They do the move, they do the rotation, and it should pay off immensely.
Yeah, but don't split up. Have all members rotate in the same direction. They're kind of doing that, but I would much prefer them being to the west of that hillside rather than to the north of it, because they're still at risk of being taken down by the teams on the east.
They're like, wait, is that an allied car? Is that our ally? Wait a second, guys. I think he's against us, so maybe we should shoot him. Not too sure, but you know what? TSC, they're going to send one player forward. That's going to be Booker. But unfortunately, Atlantis Cycle, they're already in the edge. GSG Europe also going for the engage. And we said it right. It was going to be a race to finish it off. And they're all making it over to the hilltop. Everyone is trying to get there first. But unfortunately, the absolutely mayhem is happening on Orangle for this final game of the day. And which team are coming out on top? Now we're down to 10 teams. Just got Thanos snapped at that engagement, Imperium. And I think they'll get more and more settled as Atlantis Cycle. They are taking a little bit of an L as they're getting engaged on by GSG Europe. They're going damn aggressive. They want this back-to-back chicken dinner.
Oh, be my loot and time to shine.
Oh, nice.
Shine on your crazy diamond once again. Roscure to the north of them, holding out amongst the smokes. They're not too close together, but they can separate themselves enough. Indeed, they do, and they take out Be My Loot.
Will tries to find the angle, and it will be found indeed. That's going to be time to shine. Up to already double-digit kill counts. 10 kills for them. Even if they die now, that is already your point average hit. Of course, you know, you don't want to die too early, so you want to keep on going, especially when you have so many players still alive. Romanian squad, they did go for the rotation. A little bit of utility popped off to survive it. But I think the time to shine here, and Romanian squad, they got the same idea, and they're putting it off pretty damn well.
I think they're kind of respecting each other a little bit.
Yeah.
X team are split up. Well, not split up. It's just Nightmare left standing because Andy got taken out. So that's going to be pretty good for time to shine in Romanian squad. And I think that's where Will is recognizing this and is just kind of separating himself a little bit to try and find the last player of X team in amongst the smoke.
I mean, Atlantis Cycle lost that fight actually versus GSG Europe, and now they're still pushing so strong down south that the circle centers up actually up north, away from GSG, away from Omega Dragons, and also TSC's last player, Antho. And that's going to be centering up pretty well on Romanian squad. They got that little hill mountain top to play with. This seemed like a really good game for them to pull off.
I think anybody can really win this. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I don't think you're guaranteed to stay alive, even if you're inside the circle.
As long as you're able to fully commit to it, should be fine. Talking about commitment, Kevazakone tries his best, but it's going to be very shortly lived. GSG Europe going for the res onto Rafik. And Rafik will make it out. He's got the new sexy skin, also of the new set. So you know what? Nice flex, making me a little bit sad, but that's okay. GSG Europe still holding on to the southern side. Omega Dragon Sebi really trying to delay his rotation away, as Antho also trying to do a similar move. But now the northern side, I mean, time to shine and Romanian squad. I don't know. Should I take the fight? Should I just wait it out and pressure the teams coming from the south? You got so many options available for these two teams.
They should wait because they're actually on the low ground, and that's a little bit more advantageous than being on the high ground. because you're less likely to get spotted out. They do have plenty of smokes and utility, especially time to shine off the back of taking down Be My Loot. Just wait it out for the next circle to pop up.
Oh, Antho, despite being in the fields, right, they're able to find Sebi of Amiga Dragons, and he's going to be pushing on forward. But unfortunately, that was a very short W as he dies right after. But you know what? He gets 4th position instead of 5th in overall points. That's a pretty significant difference.
And a kill along the way. So you take your little victories as you can. So we're down to the last 3 teams. Romanian squad, Time to Shine, and GSG.
GSG Europe, I mean, they won the last game on Miramar. We'll get the first back-to-back chicken dinner on the first day of PMCO for this full split. I mean, that would be a huge achievement for them. I think they're already looking good. They got a few players scouting up above. But really here, this is going to be a Mexican standoff, as we always like to call it, Imperium. The teams that fight first, the 2 teams that always get involved, you need the other team that's playing passive to engage upon that fight, to really commit and capitalize on the disadvantage of the other teams. As Ra goes down first for Romanian squad, putting him down to now only 3 players, where Swave going to try and flank on the side onto Chris, and Killer not quite able to find the angles though.
At least that's going to help Time to Shine gain a little bit more control, because that member of the Romanian squad has been eliminated. GSG, even though they're on the high ground, they're at risk of getting shot from that open position.
Yeah, if they have no smokes, Imperium, like, they're going to be pushed over the ledge, and that's when the 2 teams, Time to Shine and Romanian squad, they're like, oh my god, is this Christmas early? We're just going to go for all the kills remaining in the lobby. That'll be okay. But here it is. They're going to be Rafik pushing on down with a car. You know what? Original approach, but I think he knows that they're in the dip on the other side. So you know what? Rafik is somewhat not going to get pressured too heavily by Romanian squad unless they want to commit some utility and some presence over there, which I think is what Killer and Hopa are currently doing. They're slowly pushing over there, but at least they have Rafik over there. That's really a good foothold. It seems like Romanian squad, they're going to be put under pressure by Time to Shine. Swave taking those shots.
I think they're pretty confident they have the majority of the players in the lobby, so they can send that player forward, and it is lower ground, so they'll hopefully be able to take more control.
Oh my god, no, taking a car like that was such a risky move. Swave will be cancelled because of that. Now that's Naya left alone, trying his best to take that position. But now GSG, I said it right. When you see the kill feed light up, that is your time to strike. GSG, they want to take control. They're going fully engaged. Time to Shine, trying to buy some time with some utility. Romanian squad put extremely low. All of their players down to about mid HP. They have to heal up because GSG Europe, they are relentless. They keep on pushing again and again and again as the shot keeps getting a shot forward. Hop 7 trying to hold to a pretty decent angle. Now GSG, they got so much room extra on that position. It's Time to Shine trying to wrap around with a car. Very interesting rotation indeed, but Romanian squad, they got the high ground on GSG Europe. They lose Chris. Killer Hopa 7 still remaining. Killer trying to wrap around a little bit further down south, a little bit further to the low ground, but unfortunately getting absolutely lit up by the GSG composition as Hopa 7 left alone as a one-man army. Time to Shine could try and go also for the re-engage on the backside as they are still alive in this lobby.
I think there's a certain level of uncertainty for Time to Shine because they do not see what Romanian squad and GSG are exactly up to.
Time to Shine, struggling a bit. They're going to be losing Will. That's going to be then still trying to hold on to that angle. Hopa 7, no, capitalizing on the opportunities at hand, securing himself their 5th kill. 7 kills going over to GSG Europe. Time to Shine still got 1 player down below. That's Swave. The res on Will could still come on through because GSG, if they go too high to peek on them, that's going to get right away punished by Romanian squad. So really, they're all tangled up against each other. And now it's over versus Hopa, and Hopa loses that one. Law clutches it through for GSG Europe, and now the chicken dinner is at hand's reach.
Oh my god, and they're going even harder.
Oh my god, Law is just clutching it through for GSG Europe. He takes down Romanian squad. Now he's going to be changing his focus over to Time to Shine. Going to go for the res onto Will, but they know that they only got 1 more player to take care of as they got that knock. They need to use that 2v1 advantage, and Will knows that. He needs to take the fight at hand. Able to almost get himself a knockdown, but it's not going to happen. GSG Europe, they take the back-to-back chicken dinner. The first back-to-back chicken dinner, actually, in the full split of PMCO Europe.
We didn't know much about them at the start of the day, but we certainly know a hell of a lot now that they are capable of taking control of these games, capturing the chicken dinners. The play by Lau was incredible towards the end, single-handedly just taking it to Romanian squad and then turning around and clapping Swave in the head and just going, yeah, no, you know what, you can't get the better of us. What a great finish by GSG Esports.
I mean, Law just really showing up to the party right there. They pick up so many frags, 11 kills going in their vicinity.
Yeah.
GSG, they can be extremely proud of themselves. Like we talked about it, we thought the Inside Games might be the first team to take that back-to-back chicken dinner. But you know what? That was not the case. It was GSG Europe showing up once again. We said it right. We do not know much about this team. They are already creating a legacy for themselves in only 1 day of PUBG Mobile competitive, which in itself is a huge achievement.
It is indeed. And Time to Shine, starting good on their angle, ending good on their angle, but question mark is, are they poor in every single other map? You gotta try and take control. I know their angle is 50% of your game, so in theory, that's a benefit to them, but I want to see that consistency. Romanian squad also ending on a relatively high note, as they were coming into this game kind of in around they're around the middle of the squad, 10th place coming to this game. Give them 5 kills, 3rd place. That's going to be a good 19-point game.
Yeah, in the middle of the pack, that's fine. But like, I want to bring back the spotlight over to Time to Shine real quick. Like how you said they are really good on air angle, and that's good. As long you don't have to hit those chicken dinners on, Sandhog, Miramar, Kendi. As long as you hit a minimum point average, even if it's just like 8 points per game on those maps, but you just do great results coming into your Wrangle games, I'll be completely okay with that. It's just you need to have an overall really good standard for yourself on the other maps too, even if they're not your strongest map.
Yeah, and this was a tough game for Time to Shine because they were one of the teams that were on the east side of the map, right? They were in amongst a few teams. They played it very effectively in the sense of they didn't push forward into the circle unless they were absolutely certain that they had control of it. They didn't move unless they knew where they needed to go and where they wanted to go. What definitely turned the game in their favor in terms of overall result was them taking down X Team, because X Team, who definitely didn't have a bad game, but they finished 6th with 5 kills. So if it had been the other way around it, for example, it could have been a lot worse for Time to Shine. That's where, when you know and you're confident about where you want to go and what you want to do, it's going to benefit you in these games.
There you go. Well, that's going to be it for our final game. As just setting everything up. I also got a refresh over on the overall standings. So you know what? We're going to be going straight over to that because I think that a lot of people at home are currently waiting for that to pop up. So there you go. 3, 2, 1. Overall standings are on our screens. And who is in top position? Of course, with a back-to-back chicken dinner. Who is it going to be other than GSG Europe with 85 points, baby? Let's go.
And what makes this even more kind of victorious for them is that after game 1, they only had 1 point. So they scored